It's the drug that you just can't have. It makes you want it so bad. You're so bad. And your head hangs lower than the wilted flowers. It's behind the weeds that grow in darkness that you care. So run, run, cowboy, they're calling for a storm. She cuts through the night faster than fire and burns you to your core. Oh, I'll pray for you when the sun starts to rise, 'cause nothing burns brighter than a bed of lies. Yeah. Don't be surprised you brought this trouble to the surface and you can't hide. You know how the saying goes, I take my advice. So run, run, cowboy, they're calling for a storm. She cuts through the night faster than fire and burns you to your core. I'll pray for you when the sun starts to rise, 'cause nothing burns brighter than a bed of lies. Yeah. Oh, run, 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 run. Thank you guys. All right.
That's True Freeland, everybody. Make some more
And not
noise. Come
Waters.
on. Yes, yes. This room is concrete for a reason. It gets loud quick. Let's bump today. Happy Sunday. Thanks for being here for the second annual Cleo's Legacy Outreach Program. We appreciate you. Drew and I got to play a little music for you on the way in. Then when David gives us the go-ahead, we'll get this thing rolling. So, but I think we're still in potty break time. Is that correct? This grass is going to have quite the field day, I'm telling you. So you're going to figure out. What's gonna stop me from loving you? Who's gonna keep me from seeing you? There's no distance that I have to go that could keep me from coming home. See, you don't spend another night alone.
I'm gonna run till my legs give in. Then I will crawl till my arms go limp. Then I will pray, I'll pray that tomorrow will be the day that I get what I've been looking for. Say no more, I'll be yours.
Well, I've got 2,000 miles left to go, and a whole lot of world, and then through the golden gates, 9 different states, and in the
Say no more, I'll be yours. I'll be yours.
This song on my neck, one hand in the air. The driver asks why you gon' be there. So this kind of girl, this kind of loving, I'm doing the craziest things. Oh, oh, ooh.
I'm gonna run till my legs give in. Then I will crawl till my arms grow limp. Then I will pray, I'll pray that tomorrow will be the day that I get what I've been looking for. Say no more, I'll be yours. Say no more, I'll be yours. I'll be yours. Some Matt Waters,
That's what I'm looking
homegrown tunes right there.
Someone's got to lead with a full-blown yay. That's what we needed. Yes, yes. And friends, no, that's what I'm talking about. We got to roll like this. There's only 500 of us in here. Okay, let's scream about some things. There are snacks. There are clipboards available. We don't expect you to remember all this information that you're going to hear today. So if you do want to grab one, now is a great time. We'll do one more song. Or Dave, you want to get okay? A little more Drew Freeland original music, everybody. Just so you know, Drew Freeland, an import from Roanoke, Virginia. We're trying to keep her here for a long time, so we got to make sure that she's happy with us. She's cutting a live album at Radio Artifact, March 27th. Get your tickets now.
You're awesome.
I'm excited about it. It's a demand, not a request. I'm telling you, it's going to be good.
Maybe like Run, Georgia, Run?
Yeah.
Run, Georgia, run, and grab your gun. Don't forget your shoes. Run, Georgia, run, before that long train comes. You pick the fight, you stand to lose. Well, she grew up on the south side of a small forgotten town, where the devil hung out on street corners and sometimes in her house. Her mama always had gentlemen lurking around, but Georgia girl, she had dreams she'd never forget about. It's crazy how a child picks up on wicked ways, and little by little makes a deal with the devil to get up out of this place. She don't care who she hurts, don't care who she burns, she sees them all the same. A little advantage here and there was her mama's game. So run, Georgia, run, and grab your gun, and don't forget your shoes. Run, Georgia, run, before that long train comes. You pick the fight, you stand to lose. 19, she hitchhiked to Chicago in the night. Raven-haired beauty had her way with the men, oh, just fine. It was just transactions, she had ladders to climb, till she came across an oil man and stole his eye. He saw in her what few men recognize. Georgia girl had a spirit that would never be compromised. She saw in him her escape from this life. She was bold and careless, not thinking about his wife. So run, Georgia, run, and grab your gun, and don't forget your shoes. Oh no, no. Run, Georgia, run, for that long train comes. You picked a fight, you stand to lose. Vivian was a woman from high society. She ran in circles with powerful names, may as well been Kennedy. days. She held herself with class and held her husband's secrets too. She heard enough about the trash in town and knew just what to do. Georgia was around jokes, but she liked to stay sharp and keen. Vivian knew there's no surprise if a girl like her OD. She sent the man who knew how to make it go away. A man like Georgia girl kept the devil paid. The authorities came looking, but they couldn't find a trace. Needles and pills and booze, but nobody's in Georgia's place. No one knows what went down in Chicago that night. Did she escape, or is her body somewhere they'll never find? So run, Georgia, run, and grab your gun. And don't forget your shoes, oh no, no. Run, Georgia, run, before that long train comes. You picked a fight, you stand to lose. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Drew Freeland, everybody. One of Cincinnati's finest. Again, March 27th, Radio Artifact. Check that out. Okay. Let me get the information that David told me to say. Give me 1 second. This is a pamphlet. And just remember, we're filming parts of this, so we got to bump up the enthusiasm a little bit for a Sunday. Understood. Get your clipboard again. They're loud. They're good to clap on. If you got chips, keep it to yourself. We're going to stay quiet with this. My friends, welcome to the Cleo's Legacy second annual community outreach. Make some noise, everybody. Come on. A beautiful day for us. The goal here today is to inform the public of dog behavior and the better ways to understand our four-legged family. Our sponsors today are Walmart, Cleo's Legacy, and the Dog Wizard Cincinnati. Let's give it up for our sponsors really quick. I'm sure many of y'all are familiar, but Cleo's Legacy is a volunteer-based, donation-based 501c3 organization here in Cincinnati, where pretty much every penny that you donate is going to go towards the veterinary bills, the training, and eventually the adoption of these dogs. So thank you for being here, and if you're feeling kind today after the seminar, please make sure that you support this wonderful organization. If you find this seminar helpful as well, make sure you follow them on Facebook and all those things. And let me introduce my good friend, Mr. David Sanders. Make some noise for the man. He is one of the Tri-State's nationally certified dog trainers, one of the best in the business. And he's also a canine behaviors consultant. He's worked with thousands of dogs, over 200 breeds, rehabbed hundreds of fear and aggression cases over the last 15 years. And for the next 75 minutes, he's going to tell you a little bit about what he does. So.
Thank you, sir. Thank you guys very much for coming. All right, let's talk some dogs. First, I want to talk about puppies. Oh, man. I don't think this is going to work from here, bud. Okay, so you're going to have to hit that every time. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. All right, so I want to talk first about puppies because that's where everything starts, right? And we put a lot of expectations on puppies without giving them proper direction in the very beginning. So the first stage of the of puppyhood is the neonatal phase, and that's when can you hit the button? Who's hitting? So you're gonna have to. Okay, I'm gonna have to do the presentation from back there. I'm gonna have to do it from back there. I apologize. This is our first time here. We're working out the technical difficulties, but I need to be able to see this. Okay, neonatal, 0 to 2 weeks. That's when dogs cannot hear, and they can sense warmth. You know, they're looking for their mom. They can feel the heat, and you know, that's just about it at that age. But during the neonatal period, that is one of the most crucial times that you want to start handling the dog, so they get used to, you know, them being people picking them up and touching them, touching their paws, so they get used to being handled by humans. If they are not handled in these early transitional phases of development, that's when they can become, aggressive towards their paws being touched or being picked up because it's foreign to them. So the earlier we start handling the dogs, it really starts with the breeder. Whoever brings the breeder, whoever brings these puppies into this world is responsible for setting them up for success. Okay, by preparing them for the real world. Is that too loud? You hear me okay? Okay, sorry about that. The transitional phase, 2 to 4 weeks. Now people say, should I wait to train my dog? Is it too early to train my dog? It's absolutely not too early to train your dog. The earlier, the better. The transitional phase between 2 and 4 weeks, dogs start to respond to external sensory stimulation. Their tails start to wag, they start to acknowledge things in their environment, and they start to develop habits. This early in life, that's when training starts. Now, socialization is imperative. The 3 to 12 weeks, that's when, they start to, that's kind of like around the first fear period where, they get taken from their litter mates and they can enter a new home, so they're really nervous and insecure about everything because everything's new to them. So that's why it's important to take things slow and make sure that when we're giving them this, like when we're introducing them to things, we want to make it positive and playful and fun. We don't want to flood them with stimulation and try to force them to do things. It's really about luring them and building their confidence, not being too forceful with them. The next phase is the juvenile phase, adolescence. That's when you start to see new behaviors that you haven't seen before, like teenagers. They're coming into their own, they're reaching sexual maturity. That's when you can see different types of fear or aggression during that phase. Adolescence, that's when you start to see the real dog. That's when they start to grow into the adulthood. The bones are fully grown, about 12 months old, and then they start to fill out during the next year. And then obviously senior dogs. Once dogs get to be a certain age, we got to be very mindful of their health and their bones. They get arthritis. They might not be as athletic as they once were. So we got to be really mindful of the health of the dog as well as the mental state. How many of you guys struggle with potty training your dogs? Or have had puppies in the past that have had issues with potty training? I know I have. The biggest mistake people make with potty training is they give their dogs too much freedom in the very beginning. I get so many clients that say, oh, my dog's peed all over the house and they're peeing on this and that, and it's like, why are you giving the dog that much freedom in the beginning if they don't know where to go? You're allowing this to happen. So puppy pads can be a crutch. I really don't like using puppy pads past 10 weeks old. If you're in an apartment or in an area where you can't get them out to the right potty area, then you have to use it in a managed type situation where you're not giving them the whole freedom of the house or even one room in the very beginning. The way that I start potty training dogs is I take them outside religiously and I crate them. And then if they haven't peed and pooped outside, they're going back in the crate. And once I see that they peed and pooped outside, then they're getting all the verbal praise, love, and affection. Yes, good, that's where I want you to go. And then we're going to give supervised freedom on leash to one room at a time. Supervised 100% of the time. No freedom for 7 to 14 days until you're habit formed going in the right spot. If you remove all those freedoms to make mistakes and you start conditioning the mind to, I go from my crate to the potty spot, and then I have free time and play time and love and affection, and then I go back to crate time or supervised freedom on leash, and then back outside, and that is the routine 24/7 for 7 to 14 days. And once I see that they are not making any mistakes in their crate and they're not making any mistakes on the leash, then I can drop the leash and watch their behavior. But I always have to supervise them in the very beginning because puppies don't know right from wrong. They're territorial. And if you give them enough room, they're going to go, okay, this is far enough away. I'm going to go ahead and mark this territory as mine. So sometimes territory marking comes into play where it's not just potty training, but dogs are also marking their territory. But that is the routine. Fear periods, there's 2 of them. One is 8 to 12 weeks, and that coincides with puppies going to a new home. So we want to be very mindful of when we're bringing a new dog into the new home, you want to make everything positive. You want to be really careful not to scare the dog or traumatize the dog. Be very selective on who you put them with, other dogs and people as well, because not all dogs like little puppies that are going to be nipping at them and jumping at them and annoying them. So you want to make sure that the dogs you introduce them to are very stable. The next one is 6 to 14 months, and that's when they hit sexual maturity and they start trying themselves, feeling themselves, and they start exercising their will a little bit more. They're more confident to go out and explore and check things out, as opposed to just being really homebodies and wanting to stay by their mom or stay by what they feel as being secure. Fear-based behavior. Whenever we're dealing with fearful dogs, it is important to slow down. We all have our mindset of what we want to get accomplished. I want this to happen and that to happen. If we're trying to rush things and we're not mindful of how the dog is feeling, that's how bites happen and that's how fights happen, because we're just thinking about what we want and we're not thinking about how the dog feels about what we're doing. With fear dogs, it's all about building confidence. It's not about correcting unwanted behavior. So if I have a dog that is terrified and pulling on the leash because it's in flight mode, I'm not going to correct the dog for pulling. I'm going to try to build its confidence and work on my relationship with the dog so the dog wants to follow me. That's the trick with leash work is, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But as far as getting dogs to walk well on a leash, it's about conditioning a following a human mindset first, and not the collar or the prong or the slip lead or whatever we're using to try to get dogs to not pull. If they don't understand to follow, then we're getting behind the 8-ball. So it's very important to not punish fear-based behaviors, even if the behavior is aggressive. Sometimes I see dogs that are terrified, but they are snapping and frothing and looking like they want to kill you, but their tail's tucked and their ears are back and they're kind of going forward and back. So it's all fear-based. It's not like a predatory response where they want to maul you and hurt you. They just want you to give them distance because they're not confident with whatever it is we're doing. Usually it's a personal space kind of thing. So it's always important to be able to read the dog and sense how they're feeling. The 3 main components to a successful relationship with your dog is that mutual bond, that mutual understanding of expectations and respect. So they look at you as their caregiver, their life source, their boss. All of those good things come through you. It's not just about trying to avoid pressure and telling them what they did wrong. It's about building their confidence and showing them what they're doing right. Yes, that's what I like to see. That's a good buddy. Build their confidence. So if you're ever having issues with behavior, usually it's one of these 3 things: the relationship, the genetics of the dog, and the environment. The environment, in my opinion, is really is the most important, because if you don't have an environment set up for learning, you could have the best dog in the world and a good relationship, but if it's a hurricane out or a tornado is happening, you're not going to be able to get much training done. So you really want to make sure that you're in a nice, calm, safe environment for learning so the dogs can calm down and focus and pay attention to what it is that you're trying to achieve. We have a lot of unwanted dogs out there, and obviously that's due to overbreeding. There's no legislation or rules on how many dogs we can bring into the world, so there's a lot of irresponsible breeders out there. But before the Industrial Revolution, all of these dogs were bred for form and function, not just for cuteness. So we have a lot of dogs that can't function. They can barely walk, they can barely breathe, they can barely see because of all of this inbreeding just because it looks cute. But people got to realize that that cuteness is their recessive genes. It's degenerative genetics that we're breeding. Brachiocephalic is a syndrome. It's not a cuteness. It's a malformation of the nasal cavity and the breathing passage. So that's why they're all the time. The little pugs and the little short-nosed dogs. They do look cute, but you do have to breed responsibly. It's not about the shortest nose or the most wrinkles. It should be about the functionality and the health of the dog primarily. But all of the dogs back before the pre-industrial revolution, they all had jobs. We had herding, guarding, hunting, cart pulling, service work, companion dogs, and police and military. Once the Industrial Revolution started, that whole mass production mindset kind of transferred over into dogs as well. And then puppy mills started to come into play, and they just started cranking puppies out just for money, not for the health or the function of the dog. So we have a lot of jobless dogs out there. If we have dogs that are destructive or anxious or nervous, or they're real busy-minded, we have to give them a job, give them something to think about. It's not just giving them trazodone and trying to get them to just sit there and be couch potatoes. If they were bred to work, come up with activities and games and fun things that they can do to keep them occupied, so their living is so they're having a good time with you guys. And it's not just about being subordinate and sitting there and not doing anything. It's let's get out and enjoy life. Dogs want to run and play and have fun. They don't want to sit in a crate all day or sit in place all day and not do anything. So it's a really give and take kind of thing. If we want our dogs to be relaxed, we're going to give them positive outlets for that. Let's go run. Let's go play ball. Let's go play hide and go seek. And then they can come in, and then they can be created. Then they can relax because they've had those positive outlets. Whenever I'm working with the dog, it's very important to know as much as I can about the dog. The breed plays a role, but I believe that the spirit matters more. Obviously, health plays a role, age plays a role, temperament plays a role, past experiences play a role. But it's not really so much about the breed primarily. It's more about the soul of the individual dog. You could get a gauntlet of Rottweilers, and you're going to get super sweet ones, very passive ones. You're going to get high drive ones. You're going to get serious ones. So if you're looking for a dog, I would not look for just breed specific. Look for a dog that has a specific set of behavior characteristics that you're looking for. I have a Rottweiler. I never would have chosen a Rottweiler, but he had everything that I was looking for. And because of that, I chose him. But I wasn't looking for a breed. I was looking for a dog that can do a job. So if you guys are looking for dogs, or if you have friends or family that are looking for puppies or dogs, it's important to understand their lifestyle and what they want out of a dog. It's not just an impulsive, I'm going to get this husky because it's cute. It's, I need a dog that's going to be conducive to my lifestyle so we can live cohesively without frustration. And to do that, we should temperament test them. And we're going to do some of that a little bit later today. But when we are temperament testing dogs, these are the 7 tests that I run them through. One is direct eye contact. People say, don't stare at your dog. Dogs, in dog language, that's a direct challenge. When dogs are staring at each other, they're mad dogging, and that's how fights start. So if a dog hasn't been conditioned to look at a human in a positive way, they could misinterpret that. So when you give them direct eye contact and they haven't been socialized very well, they take that as a challenge. And then they'll shoot at you. So I just want to see, I'll stare at them on purpose just to see how the dog responds to direct eye contact. Especially if we're working in rescue and we have to put these dogs out into the public, we need to make sure that they're safe. So we have to run them through all of these tests to identify any triggers, if there are any. Then affection and handling. How is the dog going to respond to its paws being touched, or it being lifted up off the ground, or it being pressed to the ground, or rolled over, or turned over on its back? I wouldn't recommend adult dogs turning them over on their back. You want to try to lure them over with food. But for younger puppies, when they're in that earlier stage of life, you want to see, are they going to be docile? Are they going to just let you do it? Are they going to playfully resist? Or are they going to be really serious and turn around and nail you because they're not comfortable? Then you want to test play, crave, and food drive. Is the dog going to be aggressive over food, voracious over food? Or are they going to allow you to take the food? Prey drive is very important to understand if a dog has prey drive, because prey drive can turn into aggression in certain situations. When a dog is in prey mode, hunt mode, they're also in fight-flight mode. So if a dog has a really high prey drive where they want to chase squirrels and kill a cat or something like that, they have a more propensity for aggression in certain situations. If they are put to the test, they might be more inclined to fight than a dog that doesn't have prey drive. They're more docile. They don't want any trouble, so they're not going to challenge another dog the way a dog that has a high prey drive would. Loud noises, things happen in the environment, firecrackers, thunderstorms, rain, things like that. So we need to know the confidence level of the dog. Is the dog fearful, or is it just naturally confident? And the way we test that, if a dog hears a loud noise, I want to see, are they going to run from it, be aggressive towards it, or be curious about it? What I want is the curiosity. Like they startle, oh, what's that? And then they want to go check it out and see where that sound or where the source came from. That is a sign of a good, confident dog. New objects. Excuse me. And this goes back to exposing puppies early in life. If you expose them to all kinds of stimulation early, then they're not going to be scared of things later in life. If they're born in a shed or a room and that's how they're raised until they're a few months old, then they're going to be scared of anything that they haven't seen before. So when you have puppies, it's very, very important to take them out. And I know vets say don't take them out until they get their last round of shots. You got to be selective on where you take them out, but not taking them out can be more detrimental to them socially and the rest of their life. They could be dealing with that fear imprint because they didn't get exposed properly during the earlier periods of life. Problem solving. This is more of a test for working dogs. Is a dog willing to stay on task? I'll just do a test where I'll hide some food or give them some puppy puzzles and see, do they have the fortitude to want to solve the problem, or do they just give up easy and just, you're going to give me a treat anyway, right? So that's more of a test for for working dogs. If you're looking for therapy dogs or service dogs, protection dogs, things of that nature. And sociability. Do dogs want to be social? Most do. If they were isolated early in life, then they get used to being in their own head and they can become antisocial because that's how they were raised during the critical period of development. And that goes back to getting puppies out, exposing them, taking them out in strollers or in carts or Lowe's where you're in the middle of the aisle. You can take puppies out as long as they've had their second round of shots. You can take them to areas that are clean like this. Take them to the car dealership or to a pet store. Keep them in the aisles away from areas where dogs have peed and marked. But it's important that they get exposed to the real world well before 4 months old, or you're going to have confidence issues growing up after that. The big 5 personality types when we're dealing with testing dogs for adoptability, or when we're picking them for play groups, what is this dog's personality, what drives it, what motivates it. So number 1 is a serious dog, and that is a dog that doesn't really play. They're just really intense. They like to sniff and use their nose and explore, but they're really into their own head, very strong-willed, making their own decisions, and they are fighters and biters. Training. They can get better with training, but those core responses rarely go away forever. That is a dog's fight-flight response when there is a perceived threat. Now, they get better by working them through things so they learn that things aren't threatening, so then they don't have to take it to that level. But if they're put in a situation where their back's up against the wall and they feel like a human is not protecting them, they will go back to that core response. So we're either fighters, flighters, or freezers. Did you have a question? Is there any questions? No? Okay. The next personality type is excitable, social, physical, play motivated, trainable, like the doodles. They're jumping, they're real happy-go-lucky guys, real goofy guys, lots of energy. Those are fun dogs to train. They're very enthusiastic and highly motivated to work. The third one, this is the diamond in the rough, the rare gem type personality, the stable, no fear, no aggression, very social, trainable, calm. This is your service dog type personality or therapy dog, where they can, they don't get affected too much by the environment. They can just stay very stoic and calm. Excuse me. Number 4 is cautious. Those are your insecure guys where they're like, oh, what's this? Everything's kind of like spooks them a little bit. They're not sure, but they have the mental capacity to get over it, where they're not going to get hung up on the fear. They might startle a little bit, but they can get over it and they can be worked through, especially if we're using a high-value reward system. That usually snaps them out of that fear pretty quick once you got a squeaky toy or their favorite food in relation to whatever it is that we're doing. And then the last one is extreme fear. Most of these dogs grew up where they didn't get a lot of socialization. So they were naturally or have a predisposition for being cautious in combination with the poor upbringing. So then you get a dog that lives in flight mode where they're just terrified of everything, very skittish, similar to wild animals. Like, they just got a hair trigger to run and flee based on self-preservation. How we all learn is by association. We all learned about Pavlov and the ringing of the bell and the dog salivating when they hear the bell because it's associated with food. It's the same concept with everything. The doorbell means someone's coming in. The dog's expecting somebody to come in when they hear the doorbell, so they start barking when they hear the doorbell. And then a lot of times we make mistakes because we're trying to get the dog to stop barking, and then we're correcting the dog, stop, or spray bottles, and telling them to shut up and all that kind of stuff when the dog's barking and going crazy at the door, but it's really scared of whoever's coming in, and now we're associating correction with someone coming in. So it's all about changing the association of what makes the dog fearful to something positive. So for example, if the dog is scared of the door, then you associate the door with playing ball, or treats coming through that door, or someone coming in with a little rotisserie chicken. Every time he hears the doorbell, he gets a little piece of turkey. That changes that mental association to what the doorbell means. And then positive or negative reinforcement. So it's very important that we understand when we're trying to teach dogs, it's about positive reinforcement first. It's not about pressure and punishment. If the dog doesn't understand what it is that we want, and then we're cranking and yanking on him when he's never been taught to follow, we're behind the 8 ball. That's on us. We weren't clear enough so the dog can understand what it is we're trying to achieve. So we always have to look at what we're doing when we're working with dogs. And there has to be consequences. If we're not applying consequences to behavior, unwanted behavior as well, then the dog thinks it's okay. Like, for example, jumping. When a dog jumps up all the time, and if I hold their paws and I love on them, that's rewarding that jumping. Even if I say, oh, stop, or push him down gently, that's not a correction, that's affection. And the dog thinks, hey, I jump and you push me down and I jump again, and that's our game. There's nothing negative there that the dog would understand that we don't want him to jump. So the consequence would be if a dog's jumping, the first step we want to do is not reinforce it in a positive way. Turn our back, reinforce the sit over and over and over again. This is how I want you to greet me. If you jump, you're not going to get any attention. If he's not getting it, where some dogs will keep jumping, you turn your back on them and then they're jumping all over your back, and it's just incessant. So if that's the case, then I would use a leash and then a remote collar, and then we would start marking paws leaving the ground. And we'll go over how to use a remote collar and leash pressure during the second segment. But it's applying consequences to behavior, both yeses and nos. They have to know what we want before we can correct them for what we don't want. So always be mindful and be out in front of their thinking by giving them proactive direction. Don't wait for them to screw up. Know that they might, and lead them into what you want them to do before they have the opportunity to misbehave. If I see a dog that I know likes to jump, I'm going to tell him to sit before he jumps. Or I'm going to throw some treats away from me so he's got to move away to get the food. There he's calming down, and then I can reset his mind, re-engage, and get him to come and sit. So it's really about programming what we want. If we're correcting all the time, we're too late. We have to look at what we're doing and take a different approach so the dog has a clear understanding of what we're trying to achieve. This drives me nuts. These guys, it looks so cute, and if a dog is polite and understands to wait for direction, that's all well and good. It's a cool little trick. But if they don't understand boundaries and personal space, and we're reinforcing this type of behavior, it reinforces a demanding dog where they try to control us because we didn't invite the dog up into our personal space, but then we're loving on him when he does. So who made that decision? The dog. So if we start rewarding impulsive thinking, impulsive behaviors, then that mindset transitions over to their decision making all throughout the day, whether it's impulsively pulling, impulsively sniffing, barking, biting, whatever. They're in their own head making their own decisions. So with impulsive dogs, you got to shut that impulse down every time, like bolting out the door. I'm not going to let him just bolt out the door. I'm going to stop him. If he tries to pull, I'm going to use body language. Get him back into that sit, politely wait, look for direction, then yes, you may proceed. It's all about proactive leadership. Same thing with this kind of stuff. So for dogs that are up for adoption, we want to teach polite boundaries. We don't want to encourage, give me paw, jump up for attention, jump in my face, kiss my face, all of that kind of stuff. If it's your personal dog and that's your relationship, you guys can do whatever you want. But for dogs that are up for adoption, they need to learn how to respect people's personal space, especially children, because children can get that misrepresentation. They've got a dog that they're allowed to hug and kiss, and they run up to them and grab them, and it's okay because it's their home dog. And then they go to an adoption event, and they do the same thing to a dog they don't know, and that's how bites happen. So it's really important to teach a dog as well as children to respect each other's personal space. We all have boundaries. Some have more stricter boundaries than others. So that's where it's good to read the dog and have a good sense of how the dog is feeling about what you're doing so you feel safe about proceeding. But both of these pictures could lead to a bite where the dog is all of a sudden not comfortable with someone in their face, and then bang. I had a very good friend who got the whole side of her cheek tore off by a chow. She was trying to put a slip lead on in the Humane Society, and the dog just grabbed a hold of her cheek like it was a tug toy. And she had to have multiple reconstructive surgeries over that. And that's just one of many stories of getting your face in dogs' faces that you don't know. So you just always want to be mindful and respectful of a new dog's personal space. That kind of behavior turns into this behavior with other dogs. Dogs don't shake hands, right? They control others with their paws. So if you see a dog that puts a paw on another dog, he's not saying, hi, how you doing? He's saying, I can control you, just by spatial pressure, just by pushing him a little bit or putting a paw on a back, the same way that humans do. It's a body language thing. When a human is asserting dominance over another person, it's a pat on the back. Right? It's like kind of like, you see how Trump does with the politicians. He always wants to make sure that he's in a more dominant position. So we don't want to reinforce things like this if dogs have a dominant personality, because that can reinforce them trying to control us. It can make it very problematic when they go to new homes, especially if the person is soft and the dog is hard. I see this a lot, where the person is very sweet, loving, and nurturing, and they got a hard head, strong-willed, bullhead dog, and the dog's just running buckshot all over them. They're just getting drug in every direction because they don't know how to assert themselves and lead the dog. And that can become very problematic if a dog is insecure, anxious, and has a high prey drive. That can turn into aggression because they're so overstimulated and they're so driven and they don't have enough human direction to lead them into a new way of thinking. So it's very important that we reinforce the right behaviors from the jump. Sooner the better with these guys. Facts. Learning occurs anytime behavior is altered. Every interaction with the dog is an opportunity to teach. It's not just about what you want. The dog has its own will, wants, and needs. A successful relationship involves give and take from both sides. The dog will tell you what is rewarding or aversive. Some dogs aren't comfortable with affection, so petting is not a reward. Saying good boy is not a reward if they're not comfortable with our voice. The dog will set the parameters of what is reinforcing and where or what they can function in. So it's very important to read the dog and sense how they're feeling about what we're doing. Solving the aggression puzzle. All aggression is not the same. People think, oh, that dog's aggressive, or that dog's mean, or, why is he being like that? It's very important to understand the root cause of what is making the dog feel the need to be aggressive. Very few dogs are just predatory, where they just want to kill a human or kill a dog. That's very rare. Most often it's due to something, some issue, whether it's insecurity, fear, trauma. So the 5 aggression types. 1 is defensive, fear-based, fear-related, whether they're injured or they're just insecure. So it's kind of, based on self-preservation, and they're not confident about what they're doing, so they're going to act out. And the way that you can tell a fear-aggressive dog compared to a confident dog is their body posture. They're just going to snap or bite and then back up and hope you leave and move away. They're not going to keep coming. That's predatory. If they keep coming, keep re-gripping, and they want to go after you no matter what, that's a more predatory-based aggression. Most of the time, aggression is based on some type of insecurity, not they want to maul you. Dominance and hierarchy. That can trigger fights between two dominant dogs. Both dogs don't want to bow down. One dog's got to submit to the other. When you have group play and one's a playful bully, and you have two playful bullies, and then they start rising up and neither one wants to back down, that's how fights start. Or they were playing well. I had that happen with my dog Shay and Luke. They had been playing together for months and they were good. But Shay is a bully, so he's not aggressive, he's not going to bite, but he just likes to annoy the heck out of the other dog. And one day, Luke just had enough of it and turned and went after him, and he meant business, and he did a lot of damage to him. So it's very important to supervise play, read body language. It was my mistake for trusting him. I was in the training room cleaning, and when I went out to check on him, I had to pull Luke off of Shay. And they had been friends for months, no issues. So the animals, just because they've never fought before doesn't mean that they never will. We always want to take that proactive cautionary role and always be supervising just to make sure that everybody is safe. Territory. I've seen it a lot where dogs are aggressive in their house or aggressive in their car or backyard, and then you take them to a dog park or in a neutral environment and they're a different dog. So territory can definitely play a role. If you're working with dogs through that, it's important to work them in their territory as well as neutral environments. It's all about proactive leadership. They need to understand that a human is in charge. If they don't feel a human is in charge, giving them direction or looking out for them, then they're going to act like animals, act on their own accord the way animals do. Protection, resource related. That's usually over food or play, sometimes overzealous play where it's a group of dogs and one dog wants to protect the other dog from another dog, or they're human where they'll claim a human and want to protect either the human or themselves from people approaching. So if you see a dog that likes to lean on you or sit on you and then square up towards the other people or dogs, that's more of a resource guarding type of behavior where they're claiming you as property or some type of relationship that they don't want to lose, so they're going to be more standoffish towards others when they're leaned up or posted up on you. Last one would be predation, self-preservation. That is the hunt, and that goes back to fight-flight. When a dog is chasing a rabbit, they're in fight-flight mode. They're fighting to live. That's prey. That's how they eat. It's about self-preservation. But those are the 5 types of aggression. So when you're dealing with aggressive dogs, you have to understand what's causing that aggression. Like with Nesta, for example. Did you guys see the story on Facebook about Nesta, the Cane Corso that we rehabbed? Well, he came in hot. He was probably one of the worst cases that I've ever seen when it came to behavior evaluations. He was frothing, snapping, biting. He acted like he wanted to kill me. I had to wear a bite suit the first day just on safety to make sure he wasn't going to nail me. But I tested him. I said, okay, give me the leash. And I started walking with him, and I put my hand out there. And he's like, rah, 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 rah. His eyes are all big. He's frothing, and then he just goes, he just gave me a little pinch and backed up. Like all that talk, all this big ferociousness, and all he wanted to do was feel safe. And the whole time he was doing that, he was looking back at his handler like, what should I do? What should I do? And then he was circling, getting behind her, and then shooting towards me again. So that tells me that's all insecure based. If it was the real deal, he wouldn't be mindful of who's handling him. He would just want to keep getting me, biting, re-gripping, keep going after me. And there was none of that. All I saw was a big, fearful dog that looks and sounds very scary, but he did not take it to that next level. So I was willing to take him on and work with him. And for a few days, he was still the same way. He was very touchy, but he had a bullet in his arm, so he was in pain all the time. 24/7, he was living with this .45 caliber hollow point on his elbow joint, and that was causing him significant amount of stress and pain. So we had that taken out, And within 2 days, it started to heal, and his whole demeanor changed. You could see the relaxed muscles in his face. He just started to relax. You could see the warmth in his eyes. He was loving. He was affectionate. He was still standoffish to people that he doesn't know, but he let his guard down significantly. So then I was able to work with him. And then once he understands that I'm his protector, that's where people got to understand. If you have a dog that has behavior issues, you don't want to be in reinforcing, oh, he's protecting me, or he just wants to protect the house. Or no, he's got to believe that that's not his job. If he's insecure and overreactive, that's not a protection dog. That's a dog that just needs to chill and be a good house dog and let us take care of things. So that's not up to him to make that happen. The aggression protocol. So whenever we're dealing with aggressive dogs, it is highly recommended you muzzle condition them, especially if they've been in a fight or have bitten before. Everything I did with Nesta, I did without a muzzle in the beginning. I had to muzzle condition him just so he could be handled by the vet. But in my opinion, you don't fix aggression with a muzzle. You fix aggression by changing how the dog feels about what makes him want to be aggressive, to where he's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that I could feel this way, because I was so consumed with self-preservation and self-defense and caught in that insecure mindset. They don't understand positive options. That's why it's up to us to lead them and show them the way. You always want to rule out health. Make sure that there's nothing going on physically that's causing the dog to want to be aggressive, like the bullet in the leg, or it could be arthritis or a bad knee, or a bad tooth or something like that. Anything could cause a dog to be self-defensive, like if there's a health issue going on. And then when dogs are getting in their face, or when people are handling them and it's causing them pain, then they're going to act out of self-defense, not because they want to hurt us. It's just they don't know how to get distance any other way than by the way dogs do. Identify triggers. So when I'm running through temperament types, that's where I'm touching the dog all over: ears, paws, tail, rear end. I'm also running quickly. You want to see how a dog is going to respond to quick movement, because that can trigger a prey drive or aggressive response for a dog that's insecure. So you want to test the dogs and really find out where or what is triggering that aggression, so you can create training scenarios that will work them through it. So for example, being touched. A dog doesn't like being touched. So I'm going to take some chicken, and I'm going to put it on the dog's mouth. Excuse me. As soon as he's eating the chicken, I'm going to pet him or just touch him, then move the food away. Here's the food, here's the affection. Remove the food, remove the affection. So you start counter-conditioning that negative association, so they learn to trust hands. Trusting hands is one of the most important things that you can do with your dog. If your dog doesn't trust your hands, how can you handle them? So that's where we do the Work for Food program. Food comes from both hands. Food comes through you. Food doesn't come through the bowl to start with. If you just put food in the bowl and walk away, you're losing an opportunity to teach and bond with the dog. Puppies follow their mom around without a leash. They don't need any type of leash or force or pressure to follow their mom around. Why is that? Because mom has all of the goods, the food, the nurturing, the warmth, the direction, all of that kind of stuff. So we have to take over that motherly role when they come into our home, whether it's an adult dog or a puppy. You have to show them that, okay, I am now your caregiver as well as your boss. We have to do the caregiver part first, so we have that relationship, but then we start working them. And then they start working for food, so they're looking at whatever we're doing is in relation to getting fed. Now it's a fun, positive thing to do, and they're not just trying to avoid pressure. A lot of times trainers don't want to use food. They think, okay, well, food is a bribe. Dogs don't understand what a bribe is. A bribe is something that's illegal. This is just rewarding for good behavior. If you look at how they train orcas and chimpanzees and all the other animals, it's all food related. They can't try to force an orca to do something. You have to control their minds, so they're being lured for food. That's the only way that they eat, is by offering those behaviors. It's unfortunate the way those orcas are treated, but that's the mindset that they have to control that large of an animal. If you can control them psychologically, they'll allow you to control them physically. if you don't have that relationship, that psychological relationship, and you just want to come in and start handling them or manhandling them, that's how people get bit, because they're only worried about what they want to achieve, or, oh, I'll get it to do this, or I'll get it to do that, and the dog's like, oh, no, you're not. Arr, arr. And, that's how people get bit, by not being mindful or respectful of the dog's personal space. You always want to teach the dog positive options. So, for example, if you have a dog that's leash reactive, and they're barking and going crazy at a dog, and if I'm correcting the dog when they're reacting, then I'm associating that trigger with a correction, something that's negative. So then the next time they see another dog, they're going to get more anxious because they think my emotional state's going to change because I'm responding to their behavior, but in a more corrective way. And then it goes the other way, where the dog gets more reactive because they're anticipating something negative happening. So to change that, you have to put a positive spin on it. When they see a dog, yes, good, you get happy. That's a good thing. You can influence how to feel by the emotions that you project. If you're frustrated or angry or negative in any way, the dog can sense that. And that validates them feeling the same way. You can't expect them to feel any different than we do. Alex, yes? No, I would just call the dog back. Come on, let's go. Yeah. So that's the first one. I'll give him a chance just to recall him. So he's going crazy, he's trying to snap. I'm not going to be like, yes, good boy for doing that. I'm just going to be like, come, puppy, come, here. And then when he turns his back and he's coming to me, that's what I'm rewarding him for. So he's always getting love, verbal praise from me when he's looking at me and coming to me. I don't want to call him and then punish him. I want him to look to me as I make all good things happen and all bad things go away. So he's a good boy for coming back. Then I would let him turn around and look at the other dog, and I would try to get that verbal praise and reward marker in before he reacts. So you're counter-conditioning that negative emotional response to mean something positive. I've seen trainers use a clicker that way. So the click equals food. Dog hears the click, they anticipate food. Then when you're working them through reactivity, when you're walking and you're taking them on a walk, as soon as they see a dog, click, backpedal 10 feet or so, call them to you. So they have to turn their back on the trigger to look to you for that high-value reward. And that will create a new association to what was once a trigger becomes a cue to look to you. I had an American bulldog that wanted to kill every dog he saw, and he lived with a cat. That was the first. But he loved his squeaky ball. So when we're walking, anytime he saw a dog, I would squeak that ball and bounce it behind him. And he looked at a dog, squeak, squeak, bounce, oh yeah, and then he'd get into the ball, and then we're playing a little fetch and drop it. And over time, when we're walking, he'd see a dog, and he would look and wait for the game to happen instead of reacting and going crazy. And that was only through positive reinforcement. If he was associating that with a high-level physical correction or an avoidance level remote sensation, then that's going to exacerbate that negative association. So when you're a balanced trainer, you have to really be mindful of what side of the pendulum you're on. You've got to be more reward-based, not focusing on correction, but focusing on leading and showing them what you want. So the dog has positive options. The dog didn't know he could turn around and play ball when he saw that dog. He was just operating on a reactive response. So when you get into their head, the split second they see something, yes, good boy, you can redirect their mindset way earlier in the timeline. Don't wait for them to react. Get into their head as soon as they hear something, yes, good boy, and that is how you influence how to feel differently about what was once a trigger is now a cue to look to you for that high-value reward system. When you're dealing with aggressive dogs, you always want to control the distance and the visual of the proximity to the stimulus. You always want to try to keep the dog below threshold as much as possible. If the dog goes over a threshold, like you were saying, he pops off, don't correct him right away. Just recall him, add distance, get him to reset his mind so he can re-engage and you can start to work him through it. It's always important to slow down. I suffer from this too. I want to get everything done in one day. So we, especially with dogs with emotional problems, we've got to slow down. Don't look at the clock. Don't look at the calendar. Just focus on how the dog is feeling about what you're doing, and are they getting better? If they're getting better, keep doing what you're doing. If it's getting worse, you have to look at what you're doing. Change the approach, change the environment, change the reward system. Make it to where the dog has a better understanding of what it is you're trying to achieve to help to set him up for success. Excuse me. One instance that comes to mind was this little dog that was scared of the stairs. She said, my dog won't go down the stairs. And he's all the way at the top, and there's 22 stairs, and the dog's looking like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. So I said, well, let's pick him up, and let's bring him down, and let's put him on the first step. I put him on the first step. I put a little treat on the ground, and he just hopped down like it was nothing. Because it was one step, right? Let's put him on the second step. Boom, boom. Third step, boom, boom, boom. He nailed every single one all the way up to 22 when we started out at one step. He was trying to accomplish all 22, and it was way overwhelming for him. His mind could not, his mind couldn't cognitively understand that. So when you break it down into those baby steps, and that's the analogy for learning, then the dog has a better understanding of what it is we're trying to achieve. Same thing with leash work. If a dog doesn't understand to follow, let's just go one step at a time. One step treat, one step treat, one step treat. So you're building this rhythm of moving with you for food. And now following you in the heel becomes highly reinforcing, and they're not doing it just to avoid pressure. They're doing it because this is how they get fed, and it's a fun, rewarding place to be. Cultivating calmness. Whenever we're working with dogs, we always want to be aware of our emotions. Emotion affects behavior, and it impedes the ability to succeed if we're too overly emotional, whether it's overexcited. If a dog is spazzing out and going crazy, the last thing we want to do is be coming in and giving them more excited energy. Hi, how are you? Real high-pitched voice, and giving them all this affection and attention when they're spinning around going nuts. Then you're just putting fuel on the fire. You're rewarding that mindset. So if we want our dog to be calm, we have to project calmness as well. It's a reciprocal thing. You always want to be mindful of reading body language, limit direct eye contact, non-threatening body language. So if you have a dog that doesn't know you, try to avoid coming in like this, reaching for them or direct eye contact. I come into the side. So like if this dog's looking at me and he doesn't know me, he's a little sketch, then I'm going to come in like this, boom, or I can come in down low, boom. Always be mindful to protect your face depending on the energy of the dog, but this is the least threatening position. When you're trying to win a dog's position or relationship, you want to be vulnerable. Make yourself vulnerable to the dog. Don't try to come in mad dog and imposing like I'm the boss and I'm dominant. You want to show them that you're just here to love them and take care of them, and you want to bond in a positive way so that dog can let their guard down and learn to trust. Most of those behaviors are self-defensive, whether it's fighting or flighting. They're just not trusting. Sometimes you could go too slow. So if you're, hesitant where you're like, that could trigger a dog too, because that turns into like a stalking kind of behavior. So you just want to, Goldilocks kind of energy, not too fast, not too slow, just enough to where the dog understands your intentions and they're willing to want to bond and accept your engagement. Allow the dog to make the first move. A lot of people want to just come in and grab the dog and reach the dog. If they're fearful, it's up to them to approach you. Let them come into your personal space. Most dog bites happen when we're coming into their personal space. That's our fault. For the dogs that are predatory, they're coming into ours. They're running after us, chasing us, getting us in the leg or whatever. That's different than trying to hug the dog or try to pet them when they're already ducking and moving away and showing you that they don't want it, and then we keep coming, then they're going to warn us a little bit harder. Your first sign is avoidance. If you see a dog not wanting to look at you or looking away or adding distance, those are subtle red flags that you have to respect their personal space. Reinforce only wanted states of mind. That goes back to rewarding excitement, You don't want to reward excitement. It goes back to rewarding fear. If a dog's really scared and then you just start, it's okay, and you're coddling them while they're scared, then they're stuck in that mindset. But if they're scared and they're freaking out and you just like, come on, let's go for a walk, or come on, let's go play ball. You get them out of that mindset, control what they're thinking about, and that's how you can control behavior. Calming signals. The way that you see a dog, if they're stressed, they're going to be shaking off, they're going to be stretching, where they're kind of just, they just see them uncomfortable. The breathing pattern can change, or they're panting, or they're yawning. All of these signs are something to be aware of, so you're not invading their personal space any more than you need to. If you see that they're uncomfortable, back up. Give them time to decompress, right? So once they have that opportunity, then you can change their mindset, and they're going to be more willing to trust you when you're reading their body language, and they can see that you know how they're feeling, because it's a mutual thing. It's all about that personal space and respect. Other calming signals, especially precursors to biting, is when you see them lip licking or snapping their teeth. They act like they got some peanut butter on their tongue, kind of thing. They're thinking about using their mouth in some type of way. So you always want to be mindful of how a dog is feeling when you're in their personal space. Another one, pacing or circling. Dogs don't walk in straight lines. So if you're trying to walk with a dog on a leash and they've never been taught to walk on a leash, they're going to be zigzagging and circling, and they're going to be all over the place, because that's how they naturally move in the wild. They don't walk straight down the sidewalk. So that goes back to reconditioning that position, walking in the heel position, to where they're getting rewarded for being there. And that conditions the mindset of following a human. Displacement behaviors. When dogs don't have enough positive outlets for things to do, we see behaviors that we don't want, whether it's excessive drinking, eating, chewing up stuff, nervous markers, zoomies, ingesting all kinds of stuff, socks and whatever we give them access to that they shouldn't have, digging out of boredom. These are all just signs of the dog doesn't have enough to do. It's not that they're bad dogs, that 9 times out of 10, they were probably bred to work in some form or fashion, and then they don't have positive outlets for that. So if we have a destructive dog, or a dog that's driving us crazy, a lot of times those are some of the best performers. If you get them out and you give them things to do, they're going to be happy to do it, because they don't have enough positive outlets. So if you have bad behavior with your dog, or unwanted behavior, you always have to look at how much exercise am I giving them, how much mental and physical stimulation does my dog have. If they don't have enough of it, that's when we see displaced behaviors like this. And sometimes it can get bad where they can hurt themselves, where they're ingesting something that they have to have surgery over, or some dogs will be like incessant lickers, where it's like a self-soothing kind of thing, where they'll start licking their paws or just licking themselves. And if they're left to their own devices for too long, it can start turning into self-mutilation, where they're actually breaking the skin or causing redness or getting some bleeding from that constant self-soothing due to lack of positive outlets. Nonverbal communication is how dogs learn primarily. I think it's so funny, people say, what should I say? Should I say no, or should I say stop, or should I say to stop a behavior? And it's really the tone that you're using. If I say no compared to no, 2 different sounds, it means 2 different things to the dog. So it's not about the definition of the word. It's about the tone and the inflection behind the word in relation to the behavior and the consequence. And if you're consistent with those tones in relation to behavior and consequence, then you can start to phase out leash pressure and luring and just control the dog by verbal commands. But if your verbal commands are inconsistent, where you're talking all the time to the dog and you say things differently, then the dog's going to be a little confused, and you're always going to have some type of crutch, whether it's leash pressure or food lure, in combination with the word, so the dog has a better understanding of what you're trying to achieve. So you always want to be mindful of your tone. Body language is indicative of a dog's emotional state. Body language is used to negotiate social interaction and resolve conflict. When dogs are interacting with you, they're going to show you whether they want to get affection. They're going to muzzle nudge you and kind of lean up against you and show that they want to bond, or they're going to duck and move away or look for an exit or look for some type of way to avoid the situation. So if you see avoidance, you want to respect that. Don't keep coming. I would go back to the lure system as opposed to just getting into their personal space, trying to force the relationship. A change in behavior rarely occurs without reason. I hear all the time, this dog bit unprovoked, or they just got in a fight, they just started fighting. Most of the time, we miss the micro warning signals. Something triggered it. We just didn't pick up on it. So if we can become more acutely aware of reading body language, that's how we stop dog fights and dog bites before it starts, because we're able to sense how the dog's feeling and we're intervening way earlier in the timeline. Like if I see dogs that don't know each other and they just meet and they start getting up in a mutual curve and then they freeze, if they freeze, that could go to a fight, it could go to play, it could go to just ignoring each other. But if I'm not sure about what they're going to do, I'm going to say, yes, good boy, or yes, good girl, puppies come, and just call them. Just call them out of that awkward silence. And I've seen it time and time again where they're like insecure, and then they hear a happy verbal tone, and then they relax and get a little wiggle. So, okay, good. I can influence how to feel when the dogs trust my leadership. That's how you can manage playgroups. If you have dogs that you don't know, I would not be putting them in playgroups. You want to have a relationship with each dog and be able to control each dog before you're putting them in a playgroup where you have to manage a highly stimulating environment. Everything has meaning. Everything matters. Even if it's something that we think may not matter, it could matter to the dog. So we always want to be mindful of what we're doing and our approach. The difference between the pack mentality and a family dynamic. People say you have to be the pack leader, and dogs are operating in a pack mentality. The pack mentality is more, primal, where they're cooperative between adults. You have a significant alpha mom and alpha dad, and then the subordinates, and they're all related. There's a clear leader. There's not like a jockeying, for position every day the way it is, in a family dynamic. Sometimes the dogs are leading, other times mom's leading, other times dad's leading, other times another dog wants to take over. So it's a little bit more unstable in a family dynamic because the dogs aren't related and the people in the house are reinforcing different things. In a pack mentality, they're unreceptive to outsiders. With a family dynamic, we're expecting dogs to just accept whoever comes in the home. Oh, this is your buddy. This is old Uncle Al. You should be friends with him. Well, he doesn't know Uncle Al. And he's looking at a new person coming into his territory, so he's going to be standoffish because that's just the way dogs do. That's why it's important to influence how to feel and use whatever the dog loves the most as the bridge to meeting new people. So if the dog loves the ball, it goes back to the American Bulldog that wanted to kill every dog he saw, you can correlate the ball with playing ball with new people. Whoever comes in the door is another person to play ball with or another person to get a treat from as opposed to another person to fear. They also have specific breeding rights. Most dogs in a family dynamic are fixed, so there's that hormonal thing going on in a pack mentality. So it makes for more of an intense relationship, intense, lifestyle where they have to hunt and kill to survive. These dogs most of them are dependent on us, and they wouldn't survive in the wild because their hunting instinct has kind of been diminished because we've domesticated them so much that they're more dependent on food. They wouldn't even know what to do if they saw a cat or a squirrel or something like that for some dogs. I had this dachshund. Dachshunds are bred to hunt. They're badger hunters, and I thought he'd be great at the barn hunt. So I took him down there, and I showed him the little rat in the tube, and he's just looking at that thing, and he just looks up at me like, what? He didn't, no hunting instinct whatsoever because he's been so spoiled his whole life. He'd rather get the treats from the treat bag than, go out there and hunt. But who wouldn't, right? So the family dynamic is what we all have. Where we have multiple dogs that aren't related. Maybe some are, but it's kind of like a convoluted type of dynamic where it's not all the same bloodline. So when you have that, there's going to be inconsistencies with the people on what they're reinforcing. Mom likes to teach, give paw. Dad doesn't want the dog to jump, or, things of that nature where we're reinforcing different things. So then the dog's going to behave differently for different people. So we want to be very clear with what we are reinforcing so everybody's on the same page with managing dog behavior. Managing play groups. Do you guys manage play groups at all when you're dealing with rescue dogs? Yep. So I'm a big believer in not putting all dogs together. Some people like to put big dogs with super little dogs, and then you're creating a huge liability. Even if the dogs doesn't mean any harm, if it's a Great Dane and a Chihuahua, you know, the dog could just accidentally step on that dog and break its back. So you have to be their advocate. You have to be looking out for all dogs involved. So we go by these playgroup sizes: 50 pounds and over, 50 to 20 pounds, and 20 pounds and under. If you operate within that system, you're much less likely for dogs to get injured unnecessarily. Read the dog. When a dog is more excited, you're more inclined to get behaviors that you don't want, whether it's fights, bites, just being overstimulated. They're frantic and they can redirect just because they've got too much going on. So when we understand a dog is too aroused or too worked up, we address the mindset first, not just the behavior where I'm trying to get this dog to heel and he's out of his mind. He can't mentally do it. So I got to focus on the mindset first. Let's get him tired. Let's run him. Let's teach him to follow me before I can expect him to walk well in the heel. Socialization. When you are introducing dogs to other dogs, I see it time and time again where they'll put one dog in a group of 10 already. And then all those dogs already know each other, and then they're all fixating on the new dog, and that dog's terrified because it's all about, you know, they're getting overwhelmed. So if you're doing play groups, it's best to introduce one dog at a time. One dog with one, then put that dog up, bring another one out, put that dog up, bring another one out. So the one dog gets used to each dog separately, and then you can start pairing them in 2s and 3s and 4s after they already have a relationship with each other. So they learn how to have a rapport and react and act as more of a group and not about the new guy coming into an existing party. If you do it that way, you're going to set yourself up for success. I've seen dogs where they get overwhelmed by so many dogs, then they get aggressive. That happened to me one time when I was really young. I wasn't a dog trainer at the time. I put my dog with my aunt's 3 boxers, and she was a little pit bull, and they overwhelmed her, and the female boxer attacked her. And from that day on, she was dog aggressive. And she was not dog aggressive before that. I was like 21, 22 years old. I didn't know anything about dog training, and I made that mistake. And she was defensively aggressive to every dog she saw for the rest of her life. So it's very important that we're their advocate and we're always looking out for them, and we're setting these training exercises up for success, so we're setting them up for success. Flooding is just what we're talking about. It's overstimulation, whether it's too many dogs, too many people. You know, like if a dog is scared of people, bringing him in here might be overwhelming. Let's get him used to one person at a time, then 2, then 3. So we build it that way. Dog parks can be hit and miss. How many people take their dogs to dog parks? Nope, not a fan? Not anymore? Bad experiences? Yes, the dog wizard recommends not taking your dogs to dog parks for just that reason. We don't know if the dogs are vaccinated, or we can't control other dogs and dog behavior, but sometimes you can have very good experiences at dog parks. It just depends on the day and what dogs and people are there. I take my dog to a dog park every now and then, or I'll use it as a visual tool. If you have dogs that are reactive, you don't have to take them into the dog park, but you can use it as a visual tool to work them around other dogs just to get them used to coexisting and you know, just being in closer proximity to other dogs without reacting. So whenever I'm reading a dog, I'm looking at multiple things. One is the eyes. You can tell if a dog is serious or if they're more relaxed and playful just by their gaze. The mouth. Are they panting? Are they lip licking? Are they teeth chattering? We got 5 minutes? Okay. So that is really going to let you know how the dog is feeling just by the gaze, the tongue, relaxed closed mouth versus stressed panting, hanging straight or to the side, ears erect, top of the head. That means they're dominant, curious, interactive. If they're lowered to the side, then that means they're a little bit, cautious. They're not as aggressive or overly stimulated. They're in a more relaxed fashion. Sometimes it could mean they're worried or insecure. Ears pinned back is definitely a red flag. You want to be very mindful of a dog that has his ears pinned back and he's looking at you like he's really not sure. Stance is also important. How tall is the dog standing? Is he really, sticking his chest out and showing he's big, or is he kind of cowering and looking down and lowering himself, showing more of a submissive role? When I see a play bow, that's when I know it's good. That's when we want to let them play and have their own interaction. If you see a dog that is ignoring, like where they don't want to sniff another dog, they act like the dog's not there, then that's a red flag that they might have issues with dogs in closer proximity when if they're in a hallway or a bedroom or something like that where they have to pass each other, there could be an issue if the dog is already showing signs of not wanting to look or sniff at another dog. Pacifying behavior. When you see a dog that is licking or muzzle nudging or trying to keep the peace, those are good signs. That means they just want to socially engage. They don't want any trouble. And, that's a good green light when I'm looking for dogs for sociability. A lot of times dogs that are submissive, they'll come up and they'll just roll over and lay down and give you their belly, show them that, I don't want any trouble. All good signs for a good social dog. Looks like we're coming up on time. We got to move things along here. So tail carriage, obviously you can tell how a dog is feeling by how it carries its tail. If it's high up and sharp and whipping, that's a high level of arousal. That could go either way, just depending on the personality of the dog. If it's obviously tucked under, it's fearful. Sometimes we can't read the dog's tail because it's docked or it's curled, so you have to look at other parts of the dog to understand how the dog's feeling about whatever it is that we're doing. Good, polite interaction. You all know a good, polite, social dog, so we don't have to spend too much time on that. Dominant versus aggressive. This is an interesting one. Dominant dogs usually aren't aggressive. They are very confident where they don't have to take it there. They can control the situation just by their presence. They don't have to overcompensate by being really aggressive. Just their nature, their demeanor will let other dogs know that they're in charge just by the way that they carry themselves. I see that a lot where a super dominant, confident dog will come in and dogs just naturally will submit to this dog, and this dog didn't do anything except for just walk in the room. Aggressive dogs usually are insecure in some type of way. That's why they feel the need to be aggressive, because it's based on keeping or preserving something that they deem important enough to be aggressive over. They also have a authoritarian type of attitude. They can be antisocial, irritable, quick to frustration, very quick hair trigger response to aggression. 6 red flags to look for when you're engaging with dogs. 1 is avoidance, we talked about. 2 is freezing. If a dog is panting and then all of a sudden they close their mouth like they're holding their breath, that is an indicator that they're thinking about biting. So if they all of a sudden close their mouth and looks like they're holding their breath, you just want to calmly give them space. It's all about that mutual respect and the ability to read body language. Looks like Santa Claus is about to get bit in the face right here. But you see that whale eye and how uncomfortable that dog is. If that gentleman could read that, he would move his head away and give that dog the personal space that he needs. But if we don't understand dog behavior and we keep coming, that's how people get bit. So it's very important to teach this stuff to kids and people that don't know about dogs when they're interacting with dogs, to save ourselves from unnecessary bites and fights. Physical manifestation of stress. Psychological can turn into physiological. If a dog is so anxious and nervous and fearful, they can start to shed, they can start to drool, they can start to sweat through their paws, they can start to dander up, where all of a sudden you just see dandruff on a dog. Where does dandruff come from? It's because it's based on a stress, fear-based response. So you always want to be aware of how your dog is feeling. When we're dealing with play groups, to mark an unwanted behavior. We use the pet corrector. It's canned air, and we use water bottles or just like a loud noise, and that's just to interrupt overzealous play. We're getting in there. We're like the referee and the traffic cop, all at the same time. So we're letting dogs know how to play appropriately, and we're advocating for every dog. Where we're not letting either one dog get bullied or picked on. We have to facilitate that play group. So if we're monitoring play groups, you don't want to take your eyes off the dog. You shouldn't be on your phone or go in the other room for just a second, because that's how I had that fight happen. I was in there for 5 minutes, and I came back out to a $5,000 vet bill because I wasn't watching. So those are mistakes that happen that we have to learn from and do things differently so we're not making the same mistakes. Supervision is paramount when you're dealing with dogs that don't know each other. And I've seen people use an air horn. I really don't like the super loud noises when you're doing that, because all the dogs hear it. So if you're trying to stop one dog from bullying another dog and you use a loud air horn or something that's going to startle them, then they all get scared and they're all sketched because they don't know what to do. So you want to find a level that they will respond to, but it's not causing them stress. Whether it's just a loud "hey" or a whistle or a clap of the hands, just something to interrupt an unwanted behavior. And then you want to redirect to the behavior that you want. So your dog always understands positive options. We also use remote collars to stop behavior. Now, remote collars and e-collars are not used to stop a dog fight. A lot of times people have the misconception of remote collars, and we're going to go over that in the second half on how to use them, but it's not about pain or punishment, it's about communication. So the remote collar sensation, the dog has a pre-association to what that sensation means, and it means to look to you for food. When they feel that vibration or they feel that E-stem, it's low enough that the dog is not feeling pain. It's just tingling and associated with food. And then when the dog looks at you, you give him food. So that gives you a way to touch the dog from a distance. Like say there's a little insecure interaction there, and I've got a dog on an e-collar, and I know that he has a propensity to aggression, but he also has a good recall to where he knows that the vibration means look to me, or the E-stem means look to me for food. So if there's an instance where I feel he might get into something, I can just say, here, and that will reset him, and he's coming to me like clockwork, because he's already been preconditioned to the e-collar to know what that means. If he's in a fight, I'm not going to hit it. There's no point in using an e-collar if a dog is in a fight, because it's not designed to stop a fight. It's designed to interrupt a thought process where you can redirect their focus back to you and then redirect them to what you would rather them do. So they can be used in a very humane way when used effectively, when people know what they're doing. The reason why they get a bad rap is because people have them on high levels. They're using it for avoidance when the dog doesn't have a mental understanding of what that sensation means, and now they're feeling pain in relation to something that they were compelled to do. That can cause fear, anxiety, distrust in the whole situation. So if we are going to use an e-collar, it's very important to use it the way a professional would use it, and not just put it on the dog and just start hitting buttons, hoping you're going to stop whatever it is you're trying to get them to stop. And we use those when our voice is not powerful enough. I can't get into the dog's head on just my voice because he's blocking me out. He's so tuned into what he wants to do, I'm insignificant. So if I can touch him from a distance, I can interrupt that thought process and get into his head and redirect him accordingly, so I can manage whatever it is type of behavior I'm trying to work him through. And we call that tactile touch, or some type of physical interaction where the dog's feeling something in relation to interrupting an unwanted behavior. These are some things we use to break up dog fights: spray bottle, water to facilitate overzealous play. Last resort for serious dogs, lemon juice to stop a dog fight. That's nasty stuff. So if you don't want to get your hands in there, just spray a little bit of lemon juice on their nose and they'll spit that out, and then you can manage them accordingly. Whenever you're dealing with dogs in play groups, they should always have some type of collar on. Don't have dogs running around with nothing. Because if you have to control them, if you have to grab them, you got to grab onto something, and you don't want to be grabbing the scruff of their neck if they're in the middle of a dog fight. So having them on a good leash and collar is a very safe way to manage play groups for dogs that we don't know. When we see dogs engaging good, then that's, yes, good boy. We're showing them appropriate play. If we're not sure about what they're going to do, we're going to interrupt that and redirect them to what we would rather them do. Insecure, overexcited interaction can lead to dog fights where they're social, but they're so overstimulated and they're so insecure and they're both bouncing off of each other, it could go sideways. So if we see dogs that are overstimulated, recall, redirect, re-engage, get them in a more calmer state, and then send them back into the play group. Reading social cues, that's how we stop dog fights, just by understanding how they're feeling. So who's more likely to bite you out of these two? The one on the left, yeah. So the one on the left is obviously looking for distance. He's pinned back in the corner. He's lowering his head, and he just looks a little bit more serious about the engagement. This guy looks super sweet. Ears back, happy. He just wants to get petted, you know. But the lifting of the paw is a distance decreasing signal. It means when they lift the paw, they want to get closer to you. It doesn't always mean something good. I saw this German Shepherd lift his paw because he wanted to bite me. It's also what they do for hunting dogs. You see the pointers, they're lifting their paw because they want to get closer to the prey item. But it's just a distance decreasing signal. It could mean different things, so you just want to be looking at the rest of the dog. These dogs aren't playing. This is a pretty serious interaction where he's got his teeth. You know, it's kind of like play bullying, you know, play fighting, where they are asserting themselves on each other just to prove whoever is the top dog. So it's important for humans to always be facilitating this type of interaction. I know we're about up on time, so we got to get moving. How to break up a dog fight. As a last resort, especially when you're dealing with pit bulls or bully breeds or very strong dogs, that's why you have to have a collar on them. So the only way to stop a really strong dog that's hell-bent on fighting is you got to take its air. You got to choke it. So you're just going to grab the back of the collar here, and then just twist, and just hold up. And eventually they're going to spit the other dog out to breathe, and then you have to manage accordingly. You want to address the aggressor. When you're dealing with aggressive situations, you have to neutralize the source of the aggression. If you're trying to pull the Yorkie out of the pit bull's mouth, you know, all you're doing is causing more damage, you know, because the dog's got a hold of that other dog. So you have to neutralize the source of the aggression. Don't hit or kick. That'll only agitate them. When you see them targeting or stalking, like this type of behavior, this interaction could go either way. They could start to play or they could start to fight, because you see they're both kind of, you know, bending down, staring at each other. This guy's insecure. So based on his demeanor, if this guy comes in too hot and wants to play with him too aggressively, that could cause a defensive response where he's, rah, get away from me. And this guy could take offense to that, and that's how dog fights start. So when we see them stalking each other and they're not quite too sure about each other, that's where we intervene. Just recall, redirect, so we can re-engage. We're going to have to move along here a little bit quicker. I'm sorry, I wish I had more time. So let's talk about some of the facial expressions here. The first dog. Obviously, when you see a dog lowering their head, you don't want to keep advancing. You want to pull back and give them that personal space and respect. Same thing with the second dog. You see the lip licking, the ears back, head down. He's real insecure. So those are all indicators to give a dog space. The guy with the blue eyes, he's a little sociopath. He's got no emotion. All he cares about is his ball. Throw the ball, find the ball. It's all about the ball for that guy. The bulldog, he's another little insecure guy. You can just tell by his eyes, you know, how he's feeling. The dog on the left, he looks like he just got back from a Grateful Dead show or a Bob Marley show or something. Like, he's feeling pretty good about himself. Same thing with the golden. He's a happy guy. Now, the guy on the greyhound, that's more of a stress open mouth pant, where you can see the mouth is just up a little bit more, open a little bit wider. You know, he could be anxious, or he could just, you know, just got done from running. Obviously, the German Shepherd, you want to give that guy distance as much as possible. But you see what I'm talking about. If you can read body language, you can stop fights and bites before it starts because you know how the dogs are feeling. And that's how we keep everybody safe. We don't wait for them to get into something. We anticipate what's going to happen, and we proactively lead them into what we would rather them do. Okay, I think we are just about up on time for our first break. Are you guys hungry? You guys want to take a little break, and then we'll do some training demos. I'll stop talking, and we'll get down to the nitty-gritty with these dogs. Any questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Will there be your outlines? Do you have a copy of those, or will they be available online?
Yes. If you leave Alex your email, I will put this all in a format that I can send to you guys so you have it in writing. I'm sorry I didn't get to all the slides today. We got a little bit of a late start, and everything was kind of timed to the minute. So next time we do this, we're going to have the doors open an hour before the seminar starts so we can start on time and get all the information in, because there is a lot more information to cover. But we will reconvene in about 20 minutes. So go ahead and take a break and enjoy some music from Drew Freeland and Matt Waters. These guys are awesome.
Make some noise for David Sanders, everybody. He spent the last 15 years doing this across the country. He's nationally certified, and he's such a gift to us all. So grab some snacks, everybody.
I got you on the harmonies. Okay. Are you gonna pack up after this?
I think we about 15 minutes. Pull things off to the side here. So why can't that time go slow, go slow? Tonight, where did all the time go? Time go? Can I put out the brakes? Is it too late to admit that I could love the tides much more, more, more? To back some mistakes. Is it too late to admit that I could have been before, more, more? So I can't then time go slow, go slow. Tonight, where did all the time go? Time go? Can I try to recreate the glory days so we all can stay for summer days forever? But now we're getting bigger, and now there's more love. So I can't then time go slow, go slow. Tonight, where did all the time go? Time go? Tonight. so I get the time. Go slow, go slow. Tonight, with all the time go, time go. Tonight, so I get the time. Go slow, go slow. Tonight, with all the time go, time go. Tonight. Thank you, friends. After watching that presentation, I don't know if you know this about David, but he's also a phenomenal percussionist. And he plays in my band. And I think more and more that if I give him crazy eyes during the set, he's going to start misconstruing that I want to bite him.
What I do in the harmony.
I met you on the edge of the desert. Midnight dangerous look in your eye. All the dust seemed to settle for a moment. Even the road runner stopped running for a while. All these warnings from my mama started playing in my head. She said, no cowboys, they'll leave you high and dry. The sun was hot and made you stubborn with a great need for water, but none for advice. Wandering with you through sandstorms and mountain ranges, everything to show new adventure in every kiss. We camped between the canyons while mysterious clouds played movies in the sky. Adventure lurked in every corner. The West doesn't need permission to be wild. Then one day came the morning, gone was any trace of our campfire. I should have known, I could have shown, I would have stopped, but I didn't, just like you didn't say goodbye. Wandering with you through sandstorms and mountain ranges, I wish I knew that wandering was all you did. That wandering was all you did. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Just to make sure you stay well informed, play Snack, Drew Freeland, recording a live album here in Cincinnati, March 27th at Radio Artifact. I'm very excited about that.
You're awesome. What do you think?
Hypoxia?
Yeah. Yeah.
My wife used to work in the ER, and every once in a while she'd come home and use some big words that I wanted to force into a conversation with friends to seem more intelligent. And oftentimes it didn't work out because I didn't look up what they meant. But this next one, the first time she said, I was like, oh, I can roll with that. But WebMD helped me make sure that it would actually fit in the song. So this one's called Hypoxia.
And it just released on all platforms.
That it did. Please find it. I've been gasping for air since you walked in the room. Breathless, speechless from the view. Asphyxiating my body, debating is in what I need just to baby.
What's love costing ya? She's hypoxia, giving the rest of it up. 'Cause oxygen just ain't enough. What's love costing ya? She's hypoxia, giving the rest of it up. 'Cause oxygen just ain't enough.
Lungs are the friends, heart's schizophrene. Body is feeling that can't feel my feet. Goodness and loveness ain't the same to me. One leaves me scared, the other empty.
What's love costing ya? She's hypoxia, giving the rest of it up. 'Cause oxygen just ain't enough. What's love costing ya? She's hypoxia, giving the rest of it up. 'Cause oxygen just ain't enough.
Come this my last breath. Now I'm with this you on my lungs. Now I'm with this you on my tongue. I'm done, I'm done, I'm done.
What's love costing ya? She's hypoxia, giving the rest of it up. 'Cause oxygen just ain't enough. What's love costing ya? She's hypoxia, giving the rest of it up. 'Cause oxygen just ain't enough. Giving the rest of it up. 'Cause oxygen just ain't enough. Giving the rest of it up. 'Cause oxygen just ain't enough.
And I think it's medically accurate, I think. And again, friends, we'd like to remind you to check out the raffle and make sure you're supporting Cleo's legacy as well as the Dog Wizard, the folks that are putting on this beautiful event today.
Should we do one more? Yeah. That's great. I need to learn harmonies.
So like Matt said, I'm a Virginia girl. I grew up in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Appalachia country, and that's what I wrote this song about, is going home and remembering who I am and coming out a little more whole than when I went there first. It's called Back to Virginia. Crying on the way, best friend's wedding. Playing her first dance, still the one. Lost in the direction I'm heading. Haven't been here since you've been gone. Take me back to Virginia, when the mountains have a piece of my soul. Take me back to Virginia, where there's still hope. I can be whole. The wrong man will take you hostage, and the right one will set you free. I don't know if we ever had it. As the road goes on, the clearer I see. Virginia, when the mountains have a piece of my soul. Take me back to Virginia, but there's still hope. I can be whole. Take me back to Virginia, where the mountains have a piece of my soul. Take me back to Virginia, there's still hope. I can be whole.
Drew Freeland,
Thank
everybody.
you, guys.
Make sure you scan that QR code, find her wherever you like to listen. She's got tens of thousands of monthly listeners, but I think y'all should be in the community. I think if she's local, we better make the most of that. So find her March 27th, Radio Artifact, recording her first live album. And I think we'll welcome back Mr. David Sanders here in a moment. Can we make some noise for Cleo's Legacy and the folks that put this on, our wonderful sponsors, Walmart as well, the Dog Wizard Cincinnati. All right, more to come, everybody.
Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Okay. How many of you guys have used an electric or a milk collar before on dogs? How many of you would like to learn how to use them humanely? How many people have heard horror stories that e-collars are bad, they're abusive, they hurt dogs? You're absolutely right. When used incorrectly, they can cause a lot of harm. But the misunderstanding about these remote collars, that people think that they use remote collars just for avoidance, like electric fences or rattlesnake avoidance. So when the dog feels the sensation, it's very unpleasant and they're wanting to get the hell away from wherever they're feeling. That's not how we apply remote collar training. Remote collar training is, look at it like invisible leash, or a way to add pressure as opposed to the leash pressure. So the sensation means food. The way you classically condition a clicker, like click equals treat, click equals treat. When I'm introducing the remote collar, I do the same thing. Equals treat, equals treat. So the dog has a mental connection of what that sensation means. Then, once they understand that, then I can interrupt unwanted behaviors, like jumping, pulling on a leash, some barking behaviors, that kind of stuff. Play mouthing. You can interrupt an unwanted behavior just by touching the dog with the remote collar. So it can be used very humanely and very effectively when you know what you're doing. So I'm going to go through a couple exercises just on how to introduce it first. Can I get a couple of volunteers? I need 2 people. 1, 2. Okay, come on up. Okay, who wants to be the trainer and who wants to be the dog? Okay. So this is just going to vibrate. Yeah, no, not at all. No, you're just going to hold it. Boom. Okay? And then this, you're going to be delivering this sensation right here. Okay? Okay, so you're going to do a little game. So in your mind, you want her to engage with something on this stage, but you can't tell her what it is. Okay? You can only say yes if she's going in the right direction, or woo, that button if she's going in the wrong direction. So a sample exercise would be, you want me to touch the podium. I'm guessing which direction. If I'm going this way, vibration. Woo, woo. If I'm going back towards the mark, yes. Yes. I'm moving. Yes. 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 Woo. Back on the mark. Yes. Woo. Back on the mark. Yes. So that's in the dog's mind. That's how the dog is thinking. They only understand what's getting them positive and negative consequences. So we have to be clear with our timing. Another example would be when I lift my foot, I want you to hit that button and I want you to feel that vibration as soon as my foot comes off the ground. Okay? Good. So that is the same concept to the dog jumping. As soon as those paws leave the ground, whoop, whoop. So in the dog's mind, they feel that sensation when their paws leave the ground for an incessant jumping dog. If a dog keeps jumping and they're not responding to off and pushing them down and all that, this is a way to mark that behavior. So in their mind, if they think every time my paws leave the ground, I feel that sensation, they're going to try to circumvent feeling that and just offering the sit, because that's what gets them the treat, love, praise, attention, and all those good things. So it's just designed to interrupt an unwanted behavior, whether it's the leash being tight or the dog jumping or play mouthing or what have you. Okay, so in your mind, think of something that you would like her to engage with on the stage that's not the podium, and you're only doing yes when she's going in the right direction and whoo when she's going in the wrong direction.
So do I say yes?
Yes, you can verbally say yes, but you just can't give her any prompting on where to go. She has to figure that out on her own. Yes, yep, so you're going to be moving around, engaging with stuff, trying to figure out what she wants. Okay? Go ahead. And you can speak up.
Yes.
That's it. Oh, that was too easy.
She's quick.
Let's try another one.
All
Make
right.
it a little bit harder.
All right.
So she doesn't, you see she's confused. So this is what the dog is going through. If we're not marking yeses, you got to tell her yes if she's moving in the right direction.
Okay.
So she knows, because she was questioning right there. She didn't feel the vibration, she was looking to you for direction. Same thing with dogs. What do you want me to do? Right, so you got to be real clear with marking that yes if she's going in the right direction, and real clear with the no if she's moving in the wrong direction. Okay? So first, if you want, just stand in one position and just start spinning so you're guessing which direction you want to go. And if she's moving in the right direction towards the direction, that's when you're marking yes. Okay? Go ahead and just start spinning so we can figure out which direction you're supposed to go. Okay. I'm not hearing any yeses.
Looking the right way?
Well, if she's moving in one direction towards the object, you can yes her. Because if you're vibrating her on this direction and that direction, then she doesn't know which way to go. If it's behind her, then any direction in that direction is a yes. Okay?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, good. So you see how confused the dog can be if we're not clear with what we're marking. Okay? Let's do. Let's give you guys. Let's switch.
Okay.
So the first step is just going to be spinning, guessing which direction you're supposed to go in. And what I like you to do is mark yes on every step. So if she's moving in the right direction, it's yes, yes. Yeah. No, you're not pressing the button for yes. You're saying yes, and then you're pressing the button to interrupt. Yeah, for no. Yeah. Good girl. Excelente. Good. All right, so you see what I'm talking about. All we're doing is marking behavior. It's not about pain or punishment. It's just about communication. All right, thank you guys. You can have a seat. Okay, let's bring a dog out. Where's Alex? Oh yeah, who do we got? So who do we have here? Wiggle worm. So tell me about wiggle worm. Well, that was, yeah, that's how I got out. Okay, all right. Okay, cool. Is there a way to like get it up and have it like hanging down, you know? Okay, all right, I'll try to speak. Yes, all right, so we're gonna do a little training demo with wiggle worm.
You got your collar?
So has wiggle worm ever used a remote collar before?
No.
Okay. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Worm. Look.
Oh, it's a girl?
She looks like a boy.
You look like a dude.
She's a horsey lady. She's just a horsey lady.
Oh, so good. Good. Okay, so I'm not going to start delivering the stimulation the split second that I put the collar on them because I don't want them to be collar-wise. If you put it on them and you start hitting it right away, then they think, okay, when the collar's on, I have to obey. So what I'll do is I'll just put it on them, and then I won't do anything for a little while. I'll go on to something else, and then go back to that after she's been on to a few different activities and she's not thinking about just having the collar put on her. So if I don't know the dog, I want to focus on the relationship first. She's got to trust me, right? And how's she feeling right now? The power of treats.
She was nervous, and then she decided you had
Oh,
treats,
I
and
smell
she's
that
like,
chicken.
okay. You want me
That
to
brings
back
them
up
around
so
real
she
quick.
can not?
Oh yeah, if you want to back up just a little bit. So my first step with any dog is making the dog work for food, where the dog has to understand that I'm the food resource, not the bowl. And that will make working for me much more valuable and fun in the dog's mind. I noticed that wiggle worm likes to jump on people. Come. Oh, yeah, see? So because she doesn't know me, obviously I'm not going to punish her for doing that because I'm sure she's been rewarded for doing that. So what I'm going to do is just not reward it or not give her any attention for when she's jumping. Come. Good. So I give her a food target down at her natural height. That's going to redirect her focus from jumping to offering a sit. Oh, you want to go to place, Bubs? She's like, I just want to go to my bed and lay down. Wiggle worm, come. Here, here. Puppy, puppy. Yes, good. Good. So I see that she's distracted by this bed. I'm just going to remove it. We'll get to place in a minute, Bubs. Good. And this goes back to following a human mindset. A lot of dogs that come into rescue didn't have good experiences with people, so they're not used to following a human's lead in a positive way. If she gets tangled, I just relax and get her out of it. Good. Here. Boom. So this right here is where you want to spend a lot of time feeding your dog. Good. Especially for dogs that like to pull. If I got to put a prong collar on a dog or try to leash correct a dog and they're incessantly pulling, that means they don't understand what I want. You know, so you have to condition a following a human state of mind. The more minutes you spend here, the less leash pressure you're going to have to do. Boom. So there, see how I could redirect her focus to my side as opposed to her jumping on me? I'm proactive. I'm getting out in front of her thinking by leading her into what I want her to do before she jumps. Worm, come. Boom. And then we reinforce the sit. Good. Good. Come. Good. And sit. Yes. Come. And sit. Excellent. Good. Here. Now to heel. Is this the incessant jumper?
No, there's another one.
Oh, there's one.
That would be Tiger.
Tiger, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But see, that's all been rewarded in some capacity. She does it naturally, but she wouldn't keep doing it if she didn't think it got her something. You know, and a lot of times we love on them and pick them up and hold their paws and all that kind of stuff when they're jumping. So we inadvertently reinforce, this is how to greet people. I jump on them. Right? So if we don't want a behavior to happen, we have to teach them the alternative, what we would rather them do. You want a little piece of treat? Here. Yes, good. So that goes back to that recall. Just how we were talking about with that dog that was targeting the other dog with the food bowl. You know, so like this could be like a leave it. Yes, I love food motivated dogs.
Would you say heel, like as you're walking with the treats? Would you say heel every time you give a treat?
When you're teaching a dog the heel position, you use the word every single time you're putting them in that position. So if I would say heel, it would be as I'm getting the dog into the position. As the dog's turning around, heel. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Here. Good. Heel. Yes. And then feed, feed, feed. If they get distracted, I'm going to change directions on them. There's nothing that's negative or correcting when we start out. It's all positive, rewarding for what we want, because the dog doesn't know what we want. Here. Yes. Good. Good. Okay, so now I want to find Worm's working level for the remote collar. So I'm going to set some treats out. So first I want to see how she does with just vibration. Oh, you came out for pressure. Good job, Bubs. Good. So she's already starting to learn to come to me and not fight it. That's where that following a human mindset comes into play. Yes, good. Oh, so good. That's a good, Bubs. Boom. Nice one. So I just hit the vibration on that. There was no electric. And she was like, whoa, what is that? That could be a little bit too much. So for some dogs, vibration is actually more stimulating than a super low level electric stimulation because the whole collar is shaking when they feel the vibration. So now we're going to find the low level E stem that show responses. So I'll start at 2. I don't start to feel it till about 8. Yes, good. Anytime she comes in coming off the pressure. Even if I didn't stim her, I'm rewarding her for that because that's the behavior that I want. And eventually I want to phase the remote collar out to where I don't need it. But it gives me a communication tool to where I can eventually control the dog without the real leash. Yes, good. Nice one, Bub. So good. So she's making her own choice to look away from that target and look back to me for reassurance. Good. Yes, good. Nice one. Let's try something a little bit more valuable. Do you want to, do we have any food? A plate of real food? What I'll do is fast the night before. And in the morning, they're not going to eat except run and exercise. And they're getting chicken and turkey and something that they really love is relational to what I'm trying to teach. And it's got to be lesser distracting environment. Because sometimes they don't want to eat because they're nervous or anxious. Here. Oh, buddy, this is going to be a good one. So go ahead and set it down in the middle there. So I'm giving him enough slack, or her enough slack to move towards it, but to not actually get it. Good. She's getting a running start. Yes, good. Nice one. So good, Bubs. Yes, good. Well, this is where using the e-collar at a lower level comes into play because it's obviously not unpleasant. So she's willing to fight through it. It's just a communication tool. It's just a way to call her without saying the word. Off, 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 off. Yes, good. Wiggle room, come. Here. Yes, good. So good. Always getting a reward to come to me. Now she's pretty persistent on wanting this, so this is where.
Sorry, my leash is very long.
I need a little bit shorter. Normally a 6-foot leash is good for this exercise. Okay, so she's being a little bit more persistent than I like to see. So I'm only at a number 7. I don't feel it till I'm at 8. It doesn't get painful until it's about 25 or 30. So I've got plenty of numbers to work in. But I want her to come in off that pressure when she feels the stem. Good. Yes, nice one. Excelente. Boom. Good. Off. Good. Good, and then she gets rewarded for that. So good. Then she's going to go right back to it. Off. Here? Yes, good. So minimal pressure there, and she's making the right choices. It's her first day, so I'm not being, real invasive or aversive. Not from that.
Okay, from your hand.
If I pick it up and give it to her, then yes. But if I'm telling her to leave something alone, it's not something that she can have, ever. Because it kind of goes back to, if you tell a dog to leave it and then, okay, take it, it's not really leaving it. It's just waiting for a few seconds to be, to be released to take it. So anything that we're telling her off or to leave it, we don't want to give it to her in that context. All right, so I'm going to let her make another choice. Off. Yes, so good. Good Bubs. Good. Let's try to give her a little treat for that. Good. Excelente. Good. I'll give her a little bit more slack. How old is Wiggle Worm? How old is Wiggle Worm?
Just a minute.
How old is she?
Roughly
Around 2.
2.
With rescue dogs, we really don't know. They
Well,
just
yeah.
make a safe estimate. Off. Off. Yes,
Yeah,
good.
she's full grown. She's full grown. Now she was abandoned in a kennel that was too small for her, and it was just covered in feces and urine. We don't know how long she was in there, but it was a neglect case. So
Yes, off. Good. Yes, so good. I know you want it, don't you? Yes, you do, Bubs. Good. Off. So she didn't even pull that time. She just stopped. Here. Nice one. Excelente. Good. So that's how we introduce the e-collar. It's not painful. It's just communication. Now, if I were to turn it up, obviously it's going to be highly unpleasant. If it's something where the dog's running out in the street, or she's wanting to kill the cat, or she's wanting to, go after a rattlesnake, then you're going to have to hit it at a high level because their will to get whatever they want is so compelling that they're not going to respond to a lower level. It's almost like into fight-flight mode. It's how they call hunting dogs off of a send. They're so consumed with what they want, our words, they're tuning us out. But when they feel that sensation, it goes straight to the brain, and now I can interrupt that thought process and get them to come back to me so I can redirect them to what I want. Right, Bubs? Now, all dogs are not cut out for e-collars. Some dogs are so hypersensitive that they're scared of the lowest level. If that's the case, then that's not the dog for this. This is for strong-willed dogs that we've exhausted all positive outlets and they're just real persistent on doing what they want to do. We have to be able to get in their head a different way. And once we've interrupted that behavior, we've added a consequence to what we don't want, and we've given them that positive option. So now, hey, leaving it alone is no problem because I get rewarded for that, not punished for that. Question?
Does there come a time when you transition them off the e-collar, or is that the training tool that you stick with that dog once they're successful?
That's an excellent question. It depends on the dog and the environment that you're in. If it's an in-home thing where you're just trying to deal with no jumping or play mouthing or something like that in the house, then you can phase the e-collar out. If you're going to do field work where you want to control the dog out in the open where you don't have a leash, you have to have it. It's just as a safety net. I would rather have it on and not have to use it than have it not be there and my dog's running away from me after a squirrel and he doesn't care about my chicken because the squirrel is more compelling. The chase is more rewarding. So if you have a super high prey drive dog that's triggered by fast movement and you don't have a leash on him, you should have that just as a safety net. Yeah, but it's about communication. It's not about pain, right? That's where e-collars get a bad rap. Also, the cheaper ones don't go low enough to do what I'm doing right here. If I were to use a $60 Pet Safe e-collar and I hit that on one, she would be yelping because it's too high. And that's not what we're trying to achieve here. And that's why they get a bad rap, because people just sell them to anybody and they're not taught how to use them appropriately. They just put it on the dog and they start hitting it for everything that they don't like, and then the dog's confused and anxious and scared. We don't want that. We want happy, engaged. What do you want to do next? I want my dog happy when I see the e-collar. Let's go, we're going to work. Yeah, because that's what that means. It's just like a pager. It's like, hey, come, pay attention to me. As soon as they do, love, praise, attention, all good things happen. Yes, question?
How far is the distance?
This one is a half a mile, and it's waterproof. Yep, the cheaper ones are only like a few hundred feet. The micro educator that's made for smaller dogs is a third of a mile. I've never had to use it from a half a mile range. You gotta have binoculars to control your dog, but that's for field dogs, dogs that, where people go hunting with their dogs, things of that nature. You have to have a safety net in place if your dog is impulsive and strong-willed. Right, Bubs? You were eyeballing that.
I have a question. So dogs who have, for example, I know I brought Juice to you one time who had a negative association with an e-collar from whatever happened to him previously, and we chose not to do e-collar with him because, like you said, he had he was just too sensitive. But anyways, for a dog that maybe, we get worm and we don't know anything about her, and maybe she had a negative association with the e-collar, would reconditioning to that e-collar after adoption or, while in care, because I'm sure lots of people get dogs and they don't have a background on them, are you able to positively reassociate the e-collar?
That's an excellent question. It depends on the mental state of the dog. Okay. If they are very stable, then yes. But if they're unstable and traumatized, probably not. Gotcha. It just depends on the dog. You would have to reintroduce it in a way to where obviously they're not feeling the same sensation. It would be a different looking collar. And I would use, just depending on what the dog felt, if you start out at the lowest level, the dog barely feels it. It's no different than me just touching your shoulder. Right. That's all it is, in association with food. And then I'm looking at how is the dog responding to what I'm doing. If they start to shut down where they don't want to take food, or they're looking for an escape, then, you know, I gotta back off and not be adding so much pressure on a dog that's not confident.
Yeah.
But I see that a lot, especially for dogs that have electric fences. And then we're trying to remote collar train them when they've already been preconditioned to the electric fence. It can be a little tricky. It just depends on the stability of the dog.
Right, okay.
Right, we're doing so good, bud.
She's the one that's dog reactive.
Oh, okay, let's bring out another dog.
Okay.
A stable one that's not gonna be eyeballing her or give her any type of.
I can go get one of the pups.
Yeah, that's fine. We're not gonna let them touch. It's just showing you how to work through it. Good, so just a little leash pressure there. I didn't even have to use the e-collar that time. I know, you're a happy Bubs, ready to learn. Well, as persistent as she is, I would have to use it on a higher level if I want to be able to control her without a leash. Because she's still fighting it, she's still pushing it. But I wouldn't do that the first day. I would keep working her to build the relationship to see if I can get her to obey without having to go to a higher level. Okay, so this dog is reactive to other dogs. So I load her towards the, leave it.
Give it a go.
When she's just kind of, actually, if you want to bring her right there. Yes, good. Here. So direct targeting is your red flag. If a dog is just fixating and all they care about is the other dog, then you're going to keep moving and not let them get any closer. But when she,
Well with slow enters in the packs more.
okay, yes, good. When she looks at a dog, I mark it as good. I'm not marking it as no, or leave it off. You are a persistent one, Bubs. So another way we can manage this jumping behavior is leash pressure. What's that? Yeah, let me get a shorter one. I know. Hold on. She lives up to her name, doesn't she? Off. So when she sees a dog, yes, good girl, I call her right back. I'm going to start to control her with leash pressure because she's getting pretty invasive with that jumping, so I'm just going to give her a little leash pop if she's moving towards me. Jumping at me. When she sees a dog, yes, good. Dogs are a good thing. Dogs are not bad. Dogs are not scary. They're not going to hurt you. Good. Then if we want to do an intro, obviously we're going to do it to where I'm going to go ahead and follow you guys. I'm going to let her get up and sniff the dog, not get into the person's or the dog's personal space. So I break up the visual. I stay calm. I don't want to be angry with her. I got to try to influence how I feel. That's a good guy. That's a good guy. Yeah, that's a good guy. Here. This way. I'll go ahead and go this way. And then let's keep her like straight by you. Yeah, just keep her in that way. I'm going to come around. I want wiggle worm to be able to sniff. Yes, good. Wiggle, come. Retreat. Boom. So she checks out the dog. She checks back in with me. Let's go say hi. Oh, she almost did. You tricked her. Yes, good. Here. Off. Inside turn, break up her visual. Good. I use a little body language just to reassert that I'm leading. She's acting on her own accord, not really following my direction, very impulsive. So I just got to reassert my leadership to let her know that I'm in control of the situation. Here. Yes, good. Nice one. And I met her down low so she doesn't jump. Now I could use the e-collar to redirect, see if I can recall her off of that when she gets a little snarky. Let's go ahead and bring her out and have you guys walk this way.
Come on, Griddles, come.
So when she sees the dog, here. Yes, good. Nice one. So good. Boom. So that was just vibration there. So that can change the mindset. When she sees the dog, Turkey dog, I know, what to choose, what to choose. Good. Yes, good, yeah, let's bring another one out. Good, good. But it's just working reactive dogs through it by breaking up the visual and adding distance. We don't want to just get her to sit there and stare at whatever is getting her worked up. You've got to snap her out of it by getting her moving. If you can control where she's looking, you can control what she's thinking about. Good. Can we get another one?
Puppies out. I have Tiger, but Tiger's
That's good. Let's bring this one out. We'll just have him at a safer, a little bit further distance. Here. Here. Yes, good. Nice one. Excelente. Good. But this goes back to doing a little leash work. If the dog's not conditioned to follow a human, that's what I got to focus on first, is that relationship where she understands that I'm leading and I'm her protector, I'm her advocate. She doesn't have to behave that way because I'm giving her positive options other than reacting. So as soon as she sees the dog, yes, good. Here. Yes, good one. This way, nice one. So good. Good. Come on. Move forward. Here. This way. Off. Off. Good. So I don't want to go too high on the no collar. So I'm going to use a little can air to interrupt that reactivity. I don't want her to see the can though. It's just a high pressure air. It's going to go to interrupt that snarkiness. Some dogs respond to it very well. Other dogs don't care. Let's go. Yes, good. So good. What a good buzz. Good. Always verbal praise, love, and affection from me. I'm not projecting negative energy. But I want to mark that as an unwanted behavior found in play. Yes, good. Nice one. Come on, this way. Heel. Here. Yes, good one. So good. That's a good one. Here. Wiggle worm. Come. Yes, good. Good. Yes. Off. This way. This way. Here. So you can see the direct targeting. This dog's got red flags all over the place. Good. Off. 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 Good. Is this the jumping dog?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Let's yeah, if you guys want to work her over there, I just want to show you guys real quick on how we work with dogs that are hell-bent on pulling. So if she wants to pull and get out in front of me, I'm going the opposite direction. Changing directions on her. Good. Good. Here. Here. Yeah. Getting out in front of her. Good. Using body language. Good. And this dog doesn't know me, so I don't have a relationship with her. If I spent a few days hand feeding or following me, I'm going to get better responses because she's looking to me more as a leader, not as just some stranger grabbing the leash.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If one of the ladies was handling the dog, because my experience with dogs, particularly bigger dogs or more active kind of dogs, is that they seem to respond better to men because they're bigger, taller, deeper voice than women. So I'm just curious if as much progress as you've made right here in front of us, could you hand it off to somebody else and see if they could do it? Because that's
Sure.
Because I rescue shepherds and I've had ones that have just been absolutely could care less about food. They'd starve themselves to death. They didn't care at all. Yeah, there was
Ball drive?
Huh?
Ball drive?
Oh, ball drive was
Okay.
insane. Yeah.
Use the ball.
Well, we worked through it, but I'm just saying, I just know that when my partner was around, who's 6 foot something, all he had to do was say her name. Oh, you know, and to me it was like, oh, we're gonna drag your ass down the street early. So I was just curious if
I don't know if it's so much as a sexual thing, like gender thing, as it is attitude. Because I see female canine officers, you know, that are handling bite dogs and protection dogs. My friend Monica is 100 pounds, and she's controlling a Malinois that'll, tear your arm off. But her attitude is how, if you control them psychologically, the body follows. So there would have to be that relationship. Could I just hand an amateur person this dog and do the same thing? No, I would have to work with that person on handling
But
skills.
what if you're the resource the dog wants to guard?
If I'm the resource that the dog wants
Yeah,
to guard,
yeah.
well, then you would have to get the dog used to moving and working for different people, and I would not allow myself to be guarded. That's where that not letting him claim me or get in front of me or, try to assert himself on others when I'm around. I'm not going to let that happen. I don't let myself be claimed or guarded. He loses what he's trying to guard. So if somebody's moving forward and he's guarding me, then I'm moving away from him. Come on. I'm not going to stand there and allow myself to be claimed and guarded. If he exhibits that guarding behavior, we interrupt it. None of that. Chill. And then reward for calm, relaxed energy. Sit.
Even though you are the prize, that you are the highest and best thing the dog wants.
Well, what I have is what the dog wants, not necessarily me. It's going to be food or the toy
But that's
is
my
the reward.
question. When you bonded with a dog, particularly a rescue that has been very badly mistreated, and they start to identify with you so much that you become sort of the resource that they want to guard, it becomes very difficult if you live alone or you're the one working the animal to sort of parse those things out.
That's where I work on my relationship. And I have to be that proactive leader. The dog has to follow my lead, where I'm giving the dog proactive direction and the dog's following. If the dog's not listening and just guarding me and not following my direction, then I have to work on my relationship with the dog so the dog respects me as the leader. So I would go back to kindergarten and I would get the dog out of that scenario and I would start working on the relationship, following my direction in a lesser distracting environment and using primary reinforcer, whatever the dog loves the most, is the bridge to meeting new people. So instead of guarding, like say for example you, I'm going to say, yes, that's a good guy. Let's go say hi. Come, stop and sit. I'm going to get out in front. So he can't guard me if I'm out in front of him. He can only guard me if I'm right here or behind him. So if I take a different stance, a different body positioning, now he's not guarding me. And if he's looking at you as a potential threat, then I want to change how he feels about that by associating whatever he loves the most with meeting new people. So I'm going to get out in front. 9. None of that. Settle. Relax. Relax. I'll give you a little treat here. You got to pay attention, little worm. Ready, buddy? Let's go say hi. Let's go say hi to this nice lady. So I leave the treat right to the person's hand right here.
Oh, what
I let her take the treat, and then worm, come. Good, yes, good one. Good. So it goes back to those 3 things: genetics, relationship, environment. If we're getting unwanted behavior, it's stemming from one of those 3 things. And if the dog doesn't respect my direction, then that's what I have to focus on. Not so much correcting the aggression, but focusing on my relationship with the dog so he doesn't feel the need to protect me, right? Well, I'm the one that's protecting him. All right, let's work on that. Let's bring out another dog. You did pretty good, Little Warren. But that's how we work her through it. Now, some dogs, it's a management situation where they're just not going to be good with dogs. Or it might take them longer than just this short amount of time to bond with another dog. We can't do a lot in an hour. Sometimes it takes days to weeks to months. Oh, yeah, let me get that. It can happen less because we're working him through these scenarios. So with wiggle worm, am I looking for his reactivity to just disappear? Or am I looking for his reactivity to be less intense? He's not giving it the full 10. He's going on maybe a 7 or an 8. And then he slowly starts to relax and then eventually accept. What's up, sweet Bubs? This is the jumper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How you doing, Bubs?
Hi,
Has she
girl.
collar?
No,
No. Or electric fence or anything like that?
nope, not that we know of. She was in the shelter. A year that she was in the shelter,
good.
Deandra?
Okay, let's take those.
2 years at the shelter.
What's up, sweetie? So I heard you were just an incessant jumper. You like to jump on everybody. Here? Good. Boom. And then again, I'm not going straight to leash. She's got to understand to follow first before I can correct her or add leash pressure if she doesn't understand where I want her to be in relation to me. So every dog you want to spend about 1,000 minutes feeding them right here in the heel. Yes, good. Good. I need something tastier. Good. And that's all the less leash pressure that we have to add. Boom. Good. Right there. And you can just stand in this position, get her used to being there. Good. One step. Heel. Good. One step. Good job, Bobs. Because the goal is to walk on a loose leash, not to have it cinched and we're just forcing the dog to be there. You want the dog to voluntarily be there. Here. Good. And sometimes, we got to stop them from getting out in front, because otherwise it's just a back and forth thing. So like in the beginning, if the dog gets out in front of me, I'm just going to go the other way. And then start conditioning that following a human state of mind. Now, if they don't get it where they want to keep getting out in front of me and I got to keep backing up, then I'm going to do something different. Like a step in front, heel. Good. Good. They don't know the invisible line that we don't want them to cross unless we mark it every single time. So now I'm just going to be real diligent with her nose not to be in front of my toes. Good. Here. Good. Good. So we step in front. Yes. Good. Good. Reward, reward, reward. When she's in the heel. Right there. This way. Puppy, puppy. You got it, bud. Puppy, come. Good. So I saw she got a little sketch, so I changed positions and just got her to start following me. This is like kindergarten 101, follow the leader for little 6 to 8 week old puppies. You're just walking backwards and you're just feeding up, feeding up, feeding up. So you're conditioning this following the human mindset. And then over time they think about pulling less and more about following the directions. Heel. Yes, nice one. There we go. Good. Good, but the best way to stop jumping behavior is conditioning the sit. Sit. Does she know sit?
Yeah.
She does. Sit. All right, so we can try either a little leash pressure up. Sit. You got it. Yes, good. So that's a little physical modeling with a little leash pressure just to help get that position. Good. Come. Good. Sit. Yes, good. Come. Good. Round to heel.
So you have food in your hand the whole time?
Yes. Yep. I'm just letting her nibble on it. Like, so my thumb controls the food. My open palm is an easier target for the dog to follow. So she can just kind of take the treats right off of that palm. And then my thumbs is slowly moving to the side, giving her more and more treats as we're moving. She's not jumping on me, so we can't really work on that. Let's work on place and stay. Does she know place and stay? No? Okay. So whenever we're introducing a new object to the dog, you want to make it positive. If she was scared of it, I would turn it over and let her walk on it just when it's in a flat position. Good. Now the trick is getting her to stay on there because she wants to get off. When we're teaching stay or place and stay, you got to use leash pressure to where you're not allowing her to get off. As soon as one foot comes off of that mark, good.
She's listening.
He's like, I got it. I love the natural. Sometimes it's beginner's love, where they just do it naturally. So when they're on place, then I start circling because I want to show her that she's to stay on no matter what side of the bed that I'm on? Good. Excelente. If she were to try to get off, I'm kind of letting her make a mistake just so I can show you how I would get her back on, but she seems to be tuned throughout with the snips of the bed. Good. Good job, Bubs. Verbal praise when she's doing it right. Then once we got that down, then we can move away and come back. Sit. When we're working stay, we always want to come back to the dog. You don't want to call the dog from a distance if they don't have a good stay. So I'm just moving away and coming back to her. Pay attention, Bubs. I don't know what the smell there was. We just cleaned it this morning. Good. A little body language to keep her back on place.
Good.
So one step back, one step forward. I'm not going to go really far away and add a whole bunch of time in the beginning if they don't have a good stay. It's just one step. Yes, good. Two, So I don't give her a treat for that because I had to correct her. Verbal praise for getting back on. Good. She's real impulsive. So that goes back to what I was talking about, shutting down that impulsive thinking. The split second she gets impulsive, we put her back on. Whoa. Not putting too much pressure on you, Mom. She's like, I give up. Just love me. That's all I want. Good. But that's also a sign of a little bit too much pressure, where I'm kind of, forcing her to be on here using body language, and if she's not completely confident, she's just going to that submissive role, and kind of slow down a little bit, right? So I just want to be mindful of how she's feeling. You can also see the nervous little tail wag. It's moving faster. It's a little bit low, so she's not like super confident. We talked about body language, breathing pattern, ear carriage, or we could just go with a roll over. We could just capture and go with it and get her to roll over. Oh yeah, come on, Bubs. Come on, Bubs. You got it. That's right. Come here. Oh, I got this one. Right there. Yes. Oh my goodness. Take two. Good. Have to place. But we just want to make it fun and engaging. If they're offering unwanted behavior, you don't want to take it personal. Or get mad, or it's affecting our ego, or I'm a horrible trainer because the dog's not doing what I want right away. We just have to look at how the dog's feeling and our mechanics, what we're doing, and what we could do differently to get a better outcome. And obviously, with dogs that you don't know, you got to focus on the relationship first so they can trust your leadership. If I'm a stranger, it makes it a little bit more challenging. Good. But we're always coming back to the dog when we're working place and stay. Good.
And by place, you're referencing the bed as the place that you want the dog in.
Yes. And it could be a multitude of places. It could be a corner on the carpet. It could be different places.
In different rooms?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, eventually you should be able to place a dog just wherever on a spot. And that's the place. Wherever you point and put them, that's the place. But I use an object to stay within and on first, so they have a visual reference of where to stay within. It's very hard to just sit a dog in an open floor where there's no visual marker and have them not move. They got to be rock solid on this first before they can do that. Right, Bubs? And then when you see that they settle, then you can jackpot that. Boom. Big treats for relaxing and going, offering the right behavior. Right, Bubs? But the most important thing, besides rewarding for being on there, is catching them when they get off. If you don't do anything and you let them get all the way off, then it's harder to keep them back on the mark because they got away with getting off. Right, sweets? Okay, who else you got?
Puppies,
Oh, puppies.
13-week-old puppies.
Oh, okay, so we don't use remote collars on puppies. Oh, she's jumping on you. Okay, let's work her through this real quick.
Okay. I do have a couple treats.
Okay. So do what you would normally do that would get her to jump.
Get her to jump.
Don't ask her to jump, but
Okay.
just kind of do something that might accidentally trigger it. maybe like hold treats above her head or call her to you. Off. Good. So when those paws are leaving the ground, she's just feeling vibration. And then, yes, good girl, boom. Nice one. Good.
What treats are you using?
I'm just using kibble.
Purina One,
Yeah,
dog kibble.
off. So don't pull her back. Yes, good. So what I'm looking for is a physiological change when I'm tapping to find out her working level. Oh, you love the face, though. Let's call her off.
Come,
Off.
Tiger.
Yes, good, and reward for that. Anytime she looks to you and comes to you, that's when she gets all that love, praise, affection, all good things happen. So let's see how she does with this. Leave it. Don't let her have it. Off. Off. Yes, good.
Do you ever repeat instead of just saying yes or good, do you ever then repeat the command? Because I've had trainers say, oh, whatever you do, when you say yes or whatever, you should be repeating the command so they know what it is. They continue to make the connection.
Well, if I repeat the command, it's to remind her what I'm trying to achieve, like where she's not listening. But it's going to be in combination with leash pressure, remote pressure, or a food lure. Because if she doesn't respond to the first off, she doesn't know what the word means. It's not powerful enough. So I'm going to add the remote pressure, food lure, or leash pressure in combination with off. So it would be off, woo.
But you don't repeat off. You repeating the command that's not getting responded to.
I would add an extra element of pressure with the word if I had to say it a second time.
Like are you asking when you
Is that what you mean?
when you would reward it? Would you reward off? Would you say off and
Not
give
not with food. I say verbal praise for stopping the unwanted behavior. So if she's jumping, I say off, woo, and she stops jumping. Yes, good. No food though.
but not yes, good off?
That's my
That's what
question.
she's asking.
I
If
wouldn't
you're going to say
follow-
yes, good off.
No, it would be off first. Because you wouldn't, I shouldn't have to remind her after I've already verbally praised her for stopping jumping. The only reason I would say that is if she went back to the jump. She would have to continuously offer that unwanted behavior for me to say the verbal marker again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like I said, I've dealt with trainers who've had different approaches to that, and they were always like, you have to reinforce what the command was to begin with, so that they know what you're praising it for.
Right, if the dog doesn't understand what I want, then I have to make it more clear. So I'm going to use another element besides the word, just to help the dog understand. And if you talk to 3 trainers, the only thing they can agree on is that the other 2 are wrong. You know, because it's all a competition thing, and we all have our own ways and our own, energies. So I find out what works for the dog. Nonverbal learning is really the most effective for the dog. We tend to over-vocalize, where we're giving them too many commands, we're talking too much, so the dogs, it's hard to decipher the words if we're giving them too many words. So we try to keep those words to one syllable, one verbal marker at a time, so they have a clear understanding. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I've got 2 huge labs and then an intact 8-year-old German Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
The dynamic is, no, it's actually pretty good, but I don't sit, stay, I just turn my hand out and they all sit down.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get a treat. But the intact German Shepherd has now decided that he wants to be in charge. And he's gone after my blood like 3 times. And no blood, anything, but he's on her neck like, sit down, I'm in charge. And it's, my stepdaughter brought him into the family, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And it was 4 or 5 months, nothing, and then all of a sudden, boom, and it's out of the blue, just like in here. I've got Edie, I'm talking, and all of a sudden, the shepherd just, boom.
So is it like a personal space issue?
No, he's not even near her.
He just targets her from
He just-
across the room and
From
goes
across
for
the
her?
room, Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yes,
huge
really
red flag.
Yeah, and last night, as she was sitting next to me, his name's River, he walked over, and I went to my husband, I said, get him out of there now, because he's looking at her.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure what to do.
Well, it's the same concept when we were working wiggle worm.
Right.
You know, so you
Redirect.
redirect for targeting,
that's what
muzzle condition him.
Okay.
So he has to have a muzzle on when he's around the other dogs because he's got to learn how to cope with that trigger a different way where he can't put his mouth on the dog.
Yeah.
But that goes back to we don't fix aggression with a muzzle. We fix aggression by addressing the mindset.
I heard what you said about redirecting him instead of going, river, down, no, off. Saying,
It's
"Hey,
just,
buddy,
come on.
here, good
Yeah,
job, you know,
let's
get
go.
him out of there."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
And your energy has a lot to do with it too. So if you're like real nervous or frustrated and using that tone in relation to him looking at the dog, that could trigger an aggressive response because it validates him feeling the same way the human does.
Yeah.
You know?
Because there's never been a leash involved. It was one time
Right.
the lab was going to go outside and the shepherd just stood in front of her and like, no.
It sounds like the shepherd needs more proactive direction. You need to be out in front of his thinking, facilitating his movements prior to those compulsive behaviors.
It's random. There's no rhyme or reason.
It's just being engaged with him and anticipating what he's going to do. So if you know that's an issue with him, you're on him. You're always reading his body language. And if he's just looking at the dog, this way, go to place, back to place. Now at this,
Smart dog, good dog, and listens to his commands. You say, leave it, mind your business, man, he's down. So,
so would he respond to that on the split second he's looking at the dog right before he goes? Right before?
I don't know, because it's so fast, I've never been able to get on it.
Okay.
I mean, it literally comes out of it. He's also intact, but he's.
Chop, chop.
He's 8 years old.
Oh, it's too late. Well, then I would teach him that off.
Cut him off when he walks in the door.
What's that? Oh, at that age, yeah. You're not going to change anything fixing a dog that old. No. No. Yeah, even if that happens, the mindset is so strong, it's so ingrained with habit formed behaviors over those years.
It is so absolutely random. It comes out of the blue. It's not like you can look over at him and they eat together, they walk together.
I would keep him on a leash and a muzzle. Keep him on a leash because that way you can stop him. He can't get to the other dog. And you're reasserting yourself as that leader. He needs to understand that a human is in charge of him. And then work that off command on another object that he wants so you can teach him off and recall without having the other dog being the trigger. So he understands the command. So then in that circumstance, off. I use halt to stop an unwanted behavior. Whatever sound, whatever auditory marker you want to use to interrupt that behavior, and then it's recall back to that, giving them a positive option. Place and stay is another one, so where if the dog's conditioned to not get off place, then he's not going to get off place for anything, and you can manage it that way. Yes?
You keep mentioning the muzzle, and I was just curious, does it matter what kind of muzzle, like the cage one as opposed to like the fabric?
Most definitely. Yes, the fabric ones are for vets where they're going to get a shot or it's going to be something real quick. Those can be dangerous because the dog has to be able to breathe. If they need to be able to pant and cool themselves and take treats and, that kind of stuff. So we use basket muzzles. The dog can open his mouth, he can pant, he can drink and take food. When he pushes his mouth up to the thing, he can get food from there, but he can't get his teeth on someone. Baskerville is what we use. Yep.
I have a dog that's, she was saying, resource, only bad with me.
Mm-hmm.
If the leash aggressive, well, if I leave a room barks, it's only with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done all the training with this dog, a lot of training.
Yeah.
Sit, stay, she knows everything. Is it better to continue to work on those sit, stays and just kind of ingrain the core?
Most definitely, because you're saying the dog's barking when you leave. Yeah.
Nobody else. She barks when I leave the room, and the two dogs will kind of get in each other's faces if I
Mm-hmm.
leave the room. But it doesn't happen with anybody else. We go to the vet, she barked and almost bit the vet,
Mm-hmm.
and they took her to the back, and the vet could do anything they wanted with her.
Well,
It's just when I'm there.
that's where place and stay comes into play, and you start moving it to where you're moving out of the room and coming back. And you're
Do I train the two dogs together, or do I separate them out and train them separately?
train
They don't attack each other. They're fine with each other. They mouth at each other.
train them separately first, so they both have an understanding of what's expected, and then pair them together. It'll be more challenging if you try to do them both at the same time. If they don't have good stays, they're triggering each other, getting off. And that should help.
I mean, I can do any command with them and they listen and do the command. It is just strictly weird.
The barking may have gotten your dog something at some point where he thinks the barking is going to get him attention or something that he wants. Yeah.
Normally brings me back to yell, so maybe that's the problem.
If that's and negative attention is better than no attention, right?
My God, he'll howl.
Oh, let's work her through this. Was she jumping? Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted. So let's see if she does it again. No, you're fine. Thank you.
Every time.
He's watching now. I'm not going to even think about it. But see, they're opportunists. He's like, the trainer's not watching. I'm going to go ahead and off. Okay, so don't touch. Off. 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 Off.
I'm gonna love you to death, I'm sorry.
Good. But that's why I'm going at a low level. I could crank it up and she'd be yelping. That's not what I'm trying to achieve. So when we go low, yes, they can get away with the unwanted behavior a little bit because we're trying to dial it into the number that they respond to. If I go too high, then she's yelping and then she's scared of you guys, and that's not what I want. I want it to be just annoying enough that she's gonna like, what is that? What do I have to do to get it to stop? Oh, getting off makes it go away. And then yes, good. Good. So let's go ahead and try it again. Off. Man, this dog's got a high threshold. Just a little bit at least. Don't pet her though. Off. Yes, good. So good. But see, that wasn't my intention. That was her choice. What she wanted to do was so compelling that she's willing to fight lower levels. And then you get it to the point where she doesn't like it so much that it causes her, irritation. She stops. I'm all love praise because I don't want her to think that I'm at negative energy coming from me. I want her to think that it's the jumping is what causes that. And the off means that the sensation's coming, right? So if I have to hit her at a high level like that, I'm loving her, I'm praising her, I'm feeling her confidence, and I want her to be able to accept a correction and not shut down and be fearful, and then I can re-engage. And odds are she's not going to do that again. And then I'm going to give her verbal praise and love and affection for making the relationship. And if I have to hit it at a high level, obviously that's not my choice. But if she has to feel that, she's going to remember low levels. Or she'll remember the higher level when she feels a lower level. So I should be able to kick it back down significantly once she feels one that's unpleasant. And then I'll love, praise, attention when she does it again. So let's go ahead and lead her over to these guys. Let's go say hi. something good comes from paws coming off of the ground, right? And then she's going to start to offer the sit. She'll just come in and come in for that low praise and attention before on the floor because that's what we're reinforcing. Dogs will do whatever they're being reinforced to do. So just like the barking when you leave, she or he thinks that barking is going to get him something because it's gotten him something in the past, whether it's let out of the kennel or some type of attention. Right, buds? Good. Yeah, let's give her a break. Let's work on the puppy.
So can paw, like paw and no jumping be two separate commands? Or is that confusion?
Well, if the dog doesn't understand to sit politely for food, you don't want to teach paw. Paw, just like we talked about, is a demanding behavior for dogs. So then they start to try to control you. Here's a paw. They like to offer what's gotten them reinforcement in the past. So if we're giving them food for pawing at us, then they're going to start pawing at you for food. And then if we reward that, then we have a jumping dog. Oh, this muzzle's huge.
No, I just didn't know if you wanted to touch on it for an
Oh.
example of what kind of muzzle to use and why.
Yes, this is the muzzles that we use. These are Baskerville muzzles. And if a dog's not conditioned to wearing a muzzle, don't just put it on and put them in a stressful situation. We make them eat out of it first. So this is like a horse's feed bag. I'm going to put it in a little Tupperware bin and fill it with kibble and just let the dog eat out of it. And when he's good with that, then I'm clipping it and clipping it, clipping it and unclipping it. Oh, so good. Yes, nice one, just like that. So it's just a feed bag. It's nothing scary. We don't want it associated with anything negative. All positive. Then once the dog's confident with that, then we can start to work them through different social scenarios where they may want to use their mouth. But they have to be confident with wearing it first, because otherwise they'll just shut down. You know, they're like, oh my God, this thing's on, and I don't know what to do. All right, puppy. So with puppies, we don't use remote collars. Maybe a vibration if I've exhausted all options. But with this one, let's not, yeah, those guys, we don't want to have them that close. A little wiggle room. So we're going to go over how to teach the dog leave it without a remote collar. So in the beginning, obviously the dog doesn't know what leave means. So I'm going to use a little food reward to show him. So I'm going to leave it first and a reward hand. I'm going to present the leave it fist. Leave it. Yes. And I could say off here. Off. Yes. Off. Yes. So it just means look away from whatever you're targeting for that food. Off. Yes. Good. Now the hard one is when the treat hits the floor. Off. Yes, good. So notice how I didn't like yank her or pull her back. I wanted her to make that decision on her own, or his own. Is that boy or girl? On his own. Off. Excellent. Good. So they always get rewarded for leaving that stuff alone. So good. Yes, excelente. So good. Off. Puppy, puppy. Yes. Good. If I see they get stuck, I just go to my recall. The recall is your go-to in the face of not knowing what to do. Just call your dog to you and then redirect them accordingly. Do is wait for your food. I'll give you this whole plate. Sit. Sit. Okay, so he doesn't know what wait means. So I'm going to use a a little leash pressure and body language. Release. Sit. Break. Yes, good. Off. Here, here. Yes, good. Puppy, puppy. So a little pop and release as I'm moving away. Good. Nice one. Off. Yes, good one. So good. This is a smart dog. Good. You can tell some of them just get it. You know, you only got to remind them once or twice and they get it. So no leash pressure that time. Good. Off. Good. Good. Sit. Excelente. Nice one. All right, let's see how puppy does with place. Giant one. Place. So I project the word as the dog is looking at the object. Because if I say go to place, he doesn't know what that means. But by hearing it while he's looking at it, that helps make that mental pairing of what word means what. Break. Place. They should always be looking at the bed or the place when they hear the word. Good one. What a smart one you are. Good. Watch me. For real impulsive dogs, I'm coming back quickly. You want to come back to place before they have an opportunity to get off. Oh, you're next, Bubs. Hold on. Good. Good. So no food for that because I had to remind him. And then I just want to get a second or two of composure before I reward. Because otherwise they start to figure out, hey, if I get antsy, then you come back and reward me, right? Good. So I didn't ask for that down, but I'm going to capture it and reward him for doing it because that's the wanted behavior, right? If they offer something that I like, I can reward them. I don't always have to verbally prompt them. If they start throwing in sits and downs and just naturally going to place, yes, good. I like that. That's what I'm talking about. They don't know right from wrong. They only know what they're compelled to do. So it's up to us to put yeses and nos on things so they understand what it is we're trying to achieve. If we're inconsistent with what we're rewarding, then the dog's going to be inconsistent too. When he learns that, hey, just kicking it there, Dad comes back and gives me treats, it's going to be a lot easier for him to control his impulses than expecting to be called. That's why it's so important to, when we're teaching place and stay, to not call the dog from a distance. If he doesn't have a good stay, and then I tell him to COME and I give him a treat out here, he's not getting rewarded for staying, he's getting rewarded for coming. And if he doesn't have a good stay, I don't want to work them together, I want to work them separately so they have a better understanding of the separate behaviors. Otherwise, they're thinking stay means wait to be called, and they're always going to be inching, anticipating getting called off the mark. I want the dog patiently waiting, not even remotely thinking about getting called. It's just waiting for the treats to come to him, whether it's in place or in the down. Good. And then we start to make it a little bit more difficult as we see that he gets it back to place. Good. No treat. Yes. Good. You can start to add more time and distance as you see the dog's getting it. If you got to constantly remind him, just spend more time just feeding him on place, just walking around the bed and just making that a positive spot to be. Then they're they're starting to look inwards and not outwards. So good. That's not a toy.
He's trying to get the kibble that's underneath it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, good. As long as he's not chewing up that nice new leash. But yeah, this dog would make a great family pet. I would love to have him for myself. He's a sharp one. Good job, boss. Let's see how he does with a little loose leash. Or actually, does anybody want to come up and have some fun? Anybody want to work on this dog with me? Yep. Okay. Yep. Come on up. Okay. So first is just going to be your recall, where you're going to say, "Is this toast?" So it's just going to be toast, come to that treat. Okay?
Toast. Toast.
So you're doing leash pressure and you're moving with me. Toast, come.
Yes. There you go.
And again. Good. Whoop, watch out for the mic. Huh? Sorry.
Good. Toast, come.
Yeah. Come. Yes.
So this is Puppy Foundation 101, learning to follow a human.
Yes.
The more minutes you spend making your dog follow you, the less leash pressure and correcting and all the rest of it you have to do. Because the dog's already preconditioned to follow. If they don't have that mindset, that's what you have to focus on. Good. And this is where you can incorporate the name. If he doesn't know his name or he's changing his name, you just say that name in relation to that primary reinforcer. Good. And then you can incorporate that with a behavior, whether it's following you or coming when called or going to place or what have you. Good. That's step one, where the dog's good with following this way. The hard one is turning the dog around and feeding him as you're walking in this position. So this is where you use your food lure and you're bringing him to you. You're bringing his head out and turning him around. Boom. And now he's right here.
Okay.
And you're only feeding him here. If he gets in front of you, you're just saying, toast, come. Or here, just changing directions on him and moving towards you, highly rewarding.
Okay. Toast, come.
Good.
Yeah.
And then turn him around, other way. Yep, just like that. Inwards, yep, boom. And start walking forwards. He's like, wait, what are we doing? Yes.
Yes. Toast, come.
Oh, okay. Yep, we got about 5 minutes left. Good. Good. So that is round to heel. Good. You want to spend 1,000 minutes of this. Dice them up however you want. But the more minutes you spend doing this, the less frustration you're going to have on the back end because the dog's already been preconditioned to follow. Good. Good. So see, dogs will start to offer behaviors they think gets their basic needs met. So if we don't reward the jumping and only reward the sitting and downing, they're going to start to do that the same way they were impulsively jumping. They're just going to run up to you and sit or throwing it down because they know that's what gets their basic needs met. Right, Bubs? So good. Excelente. Let's try a little off. So we're not going to let him have it.
Okay.
Give him a little, show him you got the goods there. So when you see him move towards it, I want you to say the word.
Off. Off.
And then recall.
Off.
Yeah.
Where's the, so it's toast, come.
Toast, come.
Playfully with a little tugging that way. And yes, good. Verbal praise, super reward for that. Good. Off. When we're giving verbal commands, we want to project our voice. Don't use your normal speaking tone. Use your public speaking tone. Project it a little bit. Make it a little bit more happier, more playful. Just you want it to have a different frequency than the way you normally talk. So they can decipher that word out of all the other words.
Used to my older dogs.
They just get it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Now we're going to try where it's on the ground and don't let him have it. You can give him enough slack to move towards it, and you're not going to yank him back. You're just letting him go right up to it. He's got to make the choice to come in off of the pressure and move to you for the reward.
Off. Toast, off.
Yes.
Beautiful. Good job, Bubs. Good. Oh, sorry, we're almost up on time. So let's do a little bit of temperament testing with this guy. So here I want to see if the dog has hunt drive or prey drive. Good. Yes. Boom. So when a dog's stimulated like this, that tells me they're going to like to chase cats and squirrels and things of that nature. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just gives you an idea of what kind of dog you're looking for. If you're looking for a working dog, you want them to be highly stimulated by movement. He's more into the chase. Okay, so now I want to see off. I want to see how he responds to a loud noise. I'm just going to say, oh, good boy. That was amazing. That was so good. So that's a solid temperament dog right there. He's just like, what? So obviously, if he was cautious or fearful, he'd be a little bit more scared of that. Good. So that just gives me...
With aggression right there, would you have reacted the same way? Just make it positive?
I wouldn't have verbally praised him and loved him for acting aggressive. I just would have made note that a loud noise is a trigger for this dog. And then we would work him through it. So if it's a case like that, then I'm going to need a helper, or I'm going to have some chicken, and I'm going to have somebody clap, and as soon as they clap, I'm going to shove chicken in his mouth. Clap, clap, treat. Clap, treat. Clap, treat. So you change the association of what the clap means. Clap means food. Or clap means squeak, squeak, throw the ball. You just have to counter condition the negative association to mean something positive. And that's how we work them through it. Right, Bubs? Next one is, let's see how he does with being handled. Thank you very much. So obviously he's pretty sweet, so I'm not worried about putting on a bite glove or anything like that, just based on his temperament. I just want to see how he responds to holding his paws. Oh, good. So good. Oh yeah, this dog is really good. He'd probably be good with kids. Look at that. So good. What a good Bubs. Yep, so I would label this dog as stable. You know, he's not like too overly excited. He's not fearful or aggressive. He's tolerant to affection. All good green lights when you're looking for a good adoptable dog. This is the type of temperament that we're looking for. And then he sees his sister over there, little McGriddle. She's like, oh my gosh, he's getting all the attention. That's not fair. Puppy, puppy. Puppy, puppy. Yes, good. Nice one. All right, let's bring out little McGriddle real quick just so she can get some attention. And then we'll have to wrap it up.
Versus no, that one.
Right?
Yeah.
We got Toast and we got McGriddle. These guys are litter mates.
Yes.
Good. So right off the bat, this one might look a little bit more anxious, a little less confident than Toast. I don't know for sure. Let's see how she does with the starter test. Good. Excelente. Nice one, Bubs. That's so good. Not too bad. Puppy, puppy. If I see they're a little reluctant to take treats from the hand, I'll just drop it first and then get them to come to my hand from there. Good. Boom. Yes, good. She's like, I can do it too.
He's critiquing her.
This right here is the foundation to off-leash work. Good. Excellent. Let's see how we do with this. Oh, actually, first I want to see how he does with the little flirt pole. Oh, kindred spirits. They're going to be hunting in a pack before you know it. Did you get it? Did you get it, Bubs? Good. But yeah, two very playful, sweet dogs. Let me see. see a little, this one's a little bit more insecure than Toast, but still docile and affectionate and accepting nonetheless. Good. Good, so that would be a pass. No playful resistance, no mouthing, no aggression or fear. Just some mild insecurity. Right, Bubs? And that's natural because she's probably, what, how old is she now?
13 or 14 weeks.
Okay. All right, let's see how we are with place. Let's have somebody else try it. Who wants to try?
I'll try.
Nobody? Yeah, okay. So all we're doing is just leading the dog on place using leash pressure and a little bit of food if she'll take it. So it's a little treat and place. Okay. Take a treat, touch it to her nose. And then as you're walking on it, go a little bit slower. So you're keeping the food like right here. A little step by step, step by step. Drop it right there so she's got a step on it. Good.
Good place.
Feel one coming. Slow on the draw here. There you go. Straight to the middle. Boom. Then once she's on, you're going to use that inside leash pressure hand, and you're just going to walk around the bed, keeping her in, using body language. Here's where you can keep dropping treats in the middle of the bed as you're moving around, just to make place highly reinforcing.
Good girl.
Good.
Good girl. Please. Drop two.
Good.
Good girl.
Good. Then, once she's got that down where you're able to circle, you can either spiral outwards where you're getting a little bit further away, or you could just start stepping away from one side and coming back to where, like, you're getting her focused, like, say you're moving on this side, sit. Good. You're just going to lean away, stay, and come back. Treat. Right here. Pay attention. So one is boom, coming back, and then we want to do 2 steps. And back and so on, where you're literally building it 1 step and 1 second at a time. And here's where you can either drop the leash or you just don't want to give her, you don't want to be pulling her that way. So just be mindful of the leash there. Good. Always coming back.
Good girl, but I don't
That's
have
the
any.
secret.
Good
to
girl.
the
I don't have any snacks.
Good girl. Or you're a boy. I'm sorry.
And then when we break, oh, is that a boy too?
It's a boy.
Yeah. Oh, I thought
It's
it
a
was
boy.
brother and sister.
Yes.
No, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't
He was offended. I
He
could
doesn't
tell.
care. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as he's getting treats. Good. So
Good
open
girl.
palm
Good
out.
boy.
Excelente. Nice one. All right. I'm sorry, you guys, we were up on time. But thank you all for coming. How did y'all feel about today?
Awesome.
Any last minute questions?
Sit down.
So if you have a dog and they're really excited, to get them to calm down, to like sit down or lay down, what is the best way to do that?
The best way is to ignore the excitement. Don't come in and, hi, how are you? And then try to get them to be composed. Ignore them. So we'll do where you walk in, she's going crazy, turn around and walk out. Start walking back in. When they're calm, you keep moving forward. When they get excited and they go crazy, you turn around and you walk away. So that goes back to rewarding states of mind. Now that's one way. It could take you 2 hours if the dog's super amped up. So if the dog's that amped up, we would address the mindset, exercise her. Let's go outside, let's run, let's play ball, let's gas her, get her mentally and physically exhausted, and then go back to those exercises. Sometimes they're not mentally able to do it. They can't compose themselves. So you give them a positive outlet for all of that pent-up energy. It's a give and take kind of thing. I'm going to do this for you, now you got to do this for me. That's the start of it. It's always addressing the mindset first. Address the mindset, change the mindset, you change behavior. If you just try to get on where what you want to do and then it gets into a force thing and the dog's fighting you the whole way, it's frustrating on both ends. So that goes back to look at how we're approaching, how the dog's feeling about what we're doing, and if we can't get it to happen, we got to change what we're doing, change the environment, change the reward system, and do something different in the beginning to where the dog's had a positive outlet for that pent-up energy first. That make sense? Cool. Any other questions? What? Negative.
We tried to introduce him to my good dog, who is super happy, loves everybody, and they instantly fought. So I didn't even try with the English Mastiff.
Okay.
How would I introduce the German Shepherd safely?
It sounds like the dog has got some sociability issues. I would need to meet the dog to determine if it's safe to socialize. Because does the dog go straight to attacking? It could be a male thing. It could be a male thing where he's just not accepting of other males being intact. It could be that in combination with pent-up energy, kind of going back to what this lady was saying, where the mindset's got to be addressed. So German Shepherds are working dogs. Barking and going crazy and being anxious and circling, that's a sign of anxiety and not enough positive outlets. So before you would introduce them, you would work him to exhaustion. Run him on a bike, play a ball with him until his tongue's hanging out and he wants to take a nap. And when he's tired, then you're going to go on a long walk together, like a mile, 2 or 3, and just keep moving at a nice distance to where the stable dog is in front, your dog, that German Shepherd's in back. And anytime you see that German Shepherd sniff the other dog at a safe distance, verbally praise, backpedal recall, reset his mind, and check back in with you. So you're putting a positive association on sniffing the other dog. As he's able to do that and not react, then you can systematically get closer and closer. The person in front has to keep control of the other dog, so where the dog can't just spin around and get in that dog's face. So you're keeping that dog in a nice heel when the other dog comes up, because ideally you want to be able to let the dog come up and sniff the dog's rear end, not get past the hindquarters. You're not letting him get up and get in the dog's face. You're just letting him get right to about here. And then when he sniffs the dog, you're verbally praising him, you're getting happy, yes, all good things, when he's getting to know another dog. And then I'm watching his demeanor. Is he able to sniff and look back at you and not react? Because that's what we're looking for. If he's able to do that, then we can get closer. If he's able to actually sniff the dog's butt in this close proximity and come back to you, then I would switch positions and have the German Shepherd up in front, and now the other dog is in back, and he has the opportunity to sniff the German Shepherd. But it's on leash in a controlled situation, so neither one can get at each other's face. Leash control has everything to do with that thing being successful. If I'm able to get to where that German Shepherd's going to allow him to sniff and he's not reacting, and this guy can come back and check back in with the handler, then we're going to test it where we're walking in a parallel at a nice safe distance to start. I'm not going to have them right next to each other first. Maybe 10 feet apart or opposite sides of the street. When they're walking, what I'm looking for the German Shepherd is he able to look at this guy and look away. If he can do that, then we're going to start to get closer. As he's able to continue staying below threshold, we can get closer. If he's fixating and moving, we have more distance. So once he's accepting, looking away, looking and looking away, then we can test him by bumping rib cages to see how they're going to do. And obviously we wouldn't do that until he's good getting that close. And then it's a test of personal space. When they bump into each other, if they're able to walk and bump into each other on a walk, then I would test them taking them in the backyard and dropping the leashes. Because you would know if they're going to fight way earlier in that timeline by those steps that we took to get there. But it's always in a controlled, systematic fashion. Never face-to-face, never both on leashes pulling at each other, and never in either one's territory. You would want to do that introduction in a neutral environment out in the park where neither one of them consider it their territory, and then work them that way. Muzzle condition that dog, too, as well, to make sure they're all safe. If that's her mindset, she's got to focus on her mindset. So with this one, this is where you want to keep moving. Come on, get her up, get her up walking. Don't let her continue to target the other dog. If she's fixating, just like what we were talking about, if she's locked on, you got to get her moving. Don't let that pressure cooker build, because it's only going to get worse if she's got nowhere else to go. Right? See how she just shook off there? So that's calming down. Yeah, she's calmer there than she was there. So distance is your friend when working with reactive dogs. But All right, we got to break down. I'm sorry, I wish we had more time, but that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for coming. Yes.